Okay, Shalom Israel. Hope everybody's doing Tawab today. Shabbat Shalom. We're back at it. Hope everybody's doing well in Israel. SOW family. Kawakab's congregation in Guatemala. Hope y'all are doing well today also. Okay, here we go with the black screen thing going on. Okay, we're going to send these prayers to the Most High and then get into our continuation with our class dealing with the emergence of the Greek Empire and the Israelite priest's integrity. So, what is it, Roger?
Is it just the preacher?
Just us, yes.
Brother.
Come on, man.
Good.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Ha-ha-wa-ha. Nothing Award. Zayawam. Tawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives us light this day. Thank you, so be it.
Okay. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Yahushai.
Ha-ha-wa-ha. Nothing Rayach. Nayachaka. Tawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives us sweet savor. Thank you, so be it.
Imagine what Panya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Ha-ha-wa-ha. Nothing Shabbat. Shalom.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it.
Psalms 121. Anasha. Ayanyamya. Ahoya. Mahaya. Yabuah. Isaiah. Yabuah. Yahweh. Shahisha. Shemaim. Wa'aratiza. La'ah. Yanathan. Lamawat. Regalia. Yalaha. Nawam. Sheshemaya. Hana. Yalaha. Nawam. Walaha. Yashon. Sheshemamah. Yashua. Yahweh. Shemaya. Yahweh. Cesaria. Yamyamya. Hashemaz. Yalaha. Bayawam. Walaha. Halabana. Bala Yala. Yahweh. Yashemaya. Makor. Right. Yashemar. Napasha. Yahweh. Yashemar.
Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from which cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Israelite credo. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord.
Okay, Lord's Prayer. Abano, Shabbat Shemayim, Wadash, Hayah, Shamkah, Yahweh, Malak Wafkah, Taba'ah, Watazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'aratiza, Kawak, Hayah, Bashayah, Nathanael, Bechor, Yawam, Maslachno, Chawbatino, Kasalachno, Chawbatino, Wala'a, Tabiano, Bonisawat, Abo, Amashano, Mayed, Ray, Chayah, Makah, Amalakwa, Maha'ala, Walthapara, Amen.
Matthew chapter 6 verse 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
Ten Commandments. La'ayahaya. Lakah. Alahaya. Achoyim. Ayo. Panya.
Thou shalt know their powers before me.
Number 2. La'ah. Ta'inah. Lakah. Pasal. Wala'ah. Ta'ibadah.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
3. La'ah. Falach wacha. Sham. Yahweh. Bashua.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Number 4. Zakar. Hayawam. Hashabat. La
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Number 5. Kabbat. Abaka. Ya'amata.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6. La'ah. Faratazah.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'ah. Zana'ah.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'ah. Zaganah.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'ah. Ta'inah. Shakur.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'ah. Ta'chamat. Asherah. La'raika.
Thou shalt not cover anything which is thy neighbor's.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law.
Israel, Yeshabian.
Everybody seated?
All right. So, last week we didn't get a chance to finish off Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 8. Okay, so we need to rise up and go a little higher up in the reading, so we can go and break this information down in context. Now, the first 2 paragraphs in the reading in the Josephus dealt with a repeat of the same issues that the priesthood had with brothers at the top position fighting and vying for position. From what we know, the one brother who had earned the position of high priest, he had the high priest spot, but the other brother had married into the nations, had did deals with the Samaritan king or governor, the Sanballat, and he was promised that if he maintained the marriage with his daughter, that he would get position and get a kingdom, not a kingdom, but get the ability to open up and set up a temple
Priest of Samaria.
in Samaria.
At the highest mountain.
And I think it was Mount Gerizim.
Gerizim.
The point is, in the reading in chapter 7, there was a similar issue with the heads, Jonathan and Jesus. Jesus was the one who had the marriage with the Samaritan woman back there also. And there was this fighting for power even back in those days. So when we read in chapter 7, the high priest at the time, Jonathan, got weak and killed his brother in the temple because the younger, I can't even say there was a younger brother. The brother Jesus had the connection and the backing with the Persian Bagosis. It was the Persian general that was over that jurisdiction, and he was setting up a situation where he could get ousted, and the younger or the other brother Jesus can get the power. What am I trying to say? There was 2 generations in a row where there was 2 brothers vying for power and position. One was doing it the right way, and one was intermingling with the nations to try to get political leverage to get in that position. And then as we keep reading in the Maccabees, the same thing happened with these different factions at the top fighting and vying for power. One faction was trying to keep things connected to the holy way, the spiritual way. Then the other faction was trying to connect with the Greeks to do the same thing.
Do business deals.
Well, to do deals and to compromise spiritual ethics to get power and leverage in the region. And this is the beginning of this same theme happening in Maccabees, as we're about to read, which led to Antiochus coming in here and putting us in this jacked up position where everybody was being forced to live and operate like the Greek way. But this is the beginning of that fighting and leveraging of power and the compromising of right and wrong to get power. Okay, so this is what's happening amongst the priesthood, which was at this time the ruling class in the nation. We know earlier from the beginning, the princes and the kings were reducing their power. Now the vacuum of power is now with the priesthood. So now, with that being the case, let's get back into reading. I just want to kind of give a pretense of what's happening. What we're about to read. Also, what we're reading is the Greek Empire. What's his name? Philip II of Macedon was killed in paragraph 1. Now Alexander consolidated power in Greece first and started working his way down to Turkey, through Hellespont to Turkey, and it's getting his power consolidated in that region, and they are about to fight King Darius in the Battle of Issus, soon as we read in this paragraph 3. So, Karai, let's get started, sir.
Let's go. Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Banashah, Banashah.
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Banashah, Banashah. Amach, what? Yahweh Shem Yashabakatah.
Yahweh Shem Yashabakatah.
All right. So let's get this. Now we're in paragraph 3.
Yeah, book.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Book 11.
Josephus, book 11, chapter 8, paragraph 3. My apologies.
Page 306.
In that blue book, right? Yeah.
Page 306, book 11. 306. All right.
I can never do it. I still have this old Josephus, man.
The original, right?
Yeah, that the one with the white cover.
Yeah.
That's the one I got, man.
306. Paragraph 6?
No, we're in paragraph 3.
Paragraph
So 11.8.3.
1183. Come.
And the goal, we will today get through this entire chapter 8 and dabble a little bit into the next book 12. That's the goal. We're going to close this chapter off with the Persian and Medes for sure. So let's read this.
Gone. Antiquity of the Jews, book 11, chapter 8, paragraph 3. About this time, it was that Darius heard how Alexander had passed over the Hellespont and had beaten his lieutenants in the battle at Granicum and was proceeding farther.
So what's happening is this. Alexander's already beating King Darius III, who was the last emperor of the Persian and Mede Empire. He's already starting to beat Darius's lower level captains. Okay, and it was in the Battle of Granicum. Okay, and that battle was in present-day Turkey, but he's working eastward. He's working eastward, and he eventually going to go southward. So once King Darius III hears about this, his thinking is, I got to sit back here and catch him now before he gains any more momentum, working his way south and taking out the rest of his empire. This is King Darius III's thinking. So let's continue.
Whereupon he gathered together an army of horse and foot and determined that he would meet the Macedonians before they should assault and conquer all Asia.
Like we've talked about in previous classes, Asia started from Turkey on, from Turkey eastward. We think Asia is China, is damn Mongolian Empire. Asia from the old world started in Turkey and worked its way east. We were even part of Asia. Okay? So let's continue. Israel was part of Asia, be specific. But let's continue.
So he passed over the river Euphrates and came over Taurus, the Sicilian mountain. And at Issus of Sicilia, he wandered for the enemy.
It's at Issus of Cilicia.
Cilicia.
Okay, Cilicia ends up being a place where a lot of Jews inhabit. And there was a lot of history, a lot of our people inhabited that land. But at the Battle of Issus in Cilicia, he waited for the enemy. Read on.
Con. As ready there to give him battle.
Okay.
Upon which Sanballat was glad that Darius was come down, and told Manasseh that he would suddenly perform his promises to him.
Just a recap, this Manasseh was the individual that was a Levite priest, but wasn't the high priest, wasn't the head one. The head was Jaddus, or Jaddua. Jaddua was the high priest. Manasseh was his brother. They were still vying for position. Sanballat was the governor of Samaria. And before this happened, he promised Manasseh that he would get him his own high priesthood in Samaria. And that King Darius III would finance it. He would back the money to finance that empire in Samaria, have his own thing. And a large faction of Levites were behind Manasseh, because they were also marrying strange wives and had their own program going on. So a lot of the priests were going to follow Manasseh into this position and give in that authority that Sanballat was going to give him.
And all it takes is one person to open the doors,
Yep.
and the floodgates are open.
Yep.
You know,
to give a weaker and easier path to get power and position.
a little leaven at the whole lump.
Exactly. So what's happening is King Darius was coming to wipe out the king of Macedon, which was Alexander, and Sanballat, which is the governor of Samaria, felt, okay, once he wipes out this little upstart empire, he could come back down and take a look at our empire, and I can talk to him, broker a deal, and get this new temple that you want, Manasseh, financed, so you don't have to let go of my daughter. That was kind of the story we had earlier. So let's continue.
Con. Upon which Sanballat was glad that Darius was come down, and told Manasseh that he would suddenly perform his promises to him, and this as soon as ever Darius should come back, after he had beaten his enemies.
Because it was expected that King Darius, with the larger numbers and the greater infantry, would be to sit back here and wipe out Alexander with no problems. Read on.
For not he only, but all those that were in Asia also, were persuaded that the Macedonians would not so much as come to battle with the Persians.
They said it was going to be such a slaughter. Alexander was going to fade back and just stay in his territory. Don't forget, for hundreds of years, and I say hundreds, at least 100 plus, the Greeks had been losing to the Greeks had been losing to the Persian and Mede Empire since the time of Xerxes. Even in that movie 300, they lost that fight. Yeah. They ended up losing it. But what it did is it galvanized and united the Greeks to keep fighting. We read that in Daniel chapter 11. But it doesn't change the fact that they lost and they were losing, and it was a stalemate. The Persians couldn't get really far into Greece, and the Greeks were stuck in their region. So nobody expected now, even at the tail end of this empire, that the Greeks were going to be able to take out these established Persian armies. Let's continue.
It says, on account of their multitude, but the event proved otherwise than they expected. For the king joined battle with the Macedonians and was beaten and lost a great part of his army.
And like I said, when you sit back and watch how the war went down, and there's historical evidence that show, listen, first of all, the Most High and the spirits were with Alexander. Because how they wiped out the Persian Empire was crazy. They had superior numbers, and they just went straight at the heart of the army. And the front lines broke, and Darius ran for the hills, left his wife and kids and family, because that's how they do things. The Persians would bring their families to the battle to watch from afar. He brought his family, he ran off, and they went and took his wife and family, and they to the victor goes the spoils. He went all the way back home to Persia, defeated, ego bruised, without his family and kids. Okay, let's continue.
His mother also and his wife and children.
He brought his mama down there too. What was he doing? He brought his mama, wife, and kids. The whole family got wiped out. Got snatched.
Yeah, he thought it was a slam dunk.
He thought it was a slam dunk. He thought he was going to win, huh?
Yeah.
This is how it went. Okay, so let's continue.
Alright, it says, his mother also, and his wife, and children were taken captives, and he fled into Persia. So Alexander came into Syria and took Damascus.
So what ended up happening, there was a lot of leverage and momentum behind Alexander once he took out a large chunk of their empire. Not a large chunk of their empire, but a large chunk of their army in Issus. So now they're like, man, they could really win this. So Alexander continues to work south towards Syria. He wipes out the Syrian empire. Now he has a lot of momentum going his way. There's a reason why when you read Daniel's chapter 7, that the Greek empire is referred to as the leopard. Because the leopard represents the swiftness in which the Greek empire gained all that territory. Because before then, the Persian and Mede Empire was huge. It went all the way from India, or close to India, all the way down to present-day Turkey and down to Egypt. So now, within, I would say, a 2-year period, Alexander is at the precipice of almost wiping out the empire. So in 2 years, he wipes everybody out. That's significant. Okay? So let's continue.
Come. So Alexander came into Syria and took Damascus. And when he had obtained Sidon, he besieged Tyre.
So, like we said earlier, or last week's class, Sidon was in the territory on the coastline. Let me see, I'm trying to show this. Yeah, there it goes. But you see, Tyre, the old Tyre and Sidon, was off the coastline where they were when Alexander wiped them out. They had moved their stronghold on the island outside of the territory of the old Tyre and Sidon. The map will kind of explain it right here. Okay, the new island city of Tyre was right in the Mediterranean Sea, off the coast of Tyre and Sidon of old Phoenicia. So what's happening is Alexander comes down, wipes out Syria, then he gets to old Sidon and Tyre, and when he gets to this area, he knows he has to build a land bridge in order to cross all the way over to their new stronghold city. We also know, as this time is happening, the Zidonians and the Tyrian Zidonian people, they are starting expanding their empire to the Carthaginian Empire, which is northern Africa. They were there also. That just hadn't been their complete hub yet. So, with that being said, as they're about to besiege this island city, and they have to build this land bridge from one place to the other, Alexander is trying to kind of set ahead, hey, Israel, Jerusalem, we're coming to a theater near you very soon. After we wipe these boys out, we need to make sure we bring money or bring food and supplies to feed our armies while we're besieging this island city. Okay? This is what he's saying. So let's continue.
So Alexander came into Syria and took Damascus. And when he had obtained Sidon, he besieged Tyre. When he sent an epistle to the Jewish high priest to send him some auxiliaries.
This is Jaddua. He sent auxiliaries to high priest Jaddua. The auxiliaries are supplies, things they need, things to take care of their men while they're building these bridges. Read on.
And to supply his army with provisions.
So the auxiliaries could be wood. It could be just different building supplies needed to get this land bridge accomplished. Okay? And also food and supplies to keep their army fed. Read on.
And that what presents he formerly sent to Darius, he would now send to him.
So he's like, listen, you saw what I did to Darius, or you heard at least of what I did to Darius in Issus in Turkey. You know what I'm capable of. Give me what you were going to give in supplies to Darius. Bring it to me now. And this is the same, like we mentioned last week, this was the same dilemma that Israel was in between us and Nebuchadnezzar versus us sitting back here and flirting with the idea of sending our allegiance to King Necho in Egypt. It was the same trip and issue we got caught up in back then that led to our demise back then. I don't want to go into all the Jeremiah because we broke it down last week, but the verse we went to was Jeremiah chapter 27, verse 5 through 11. Let's read it real quick. To like kind of give context as to why High Priest Jaddua might have told Alexander that no, I'm not going to bring you supplies. I'm going to stay loyal to King Darius III. Okay, I think that's important that we quickly go over that again to give context to the decision. Jeremiah 27, verse 5.
Jeremiah chapter 27 and verse 5. I have made the earth, the man, and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power.
Matter of fact, give me verse 1 and read it down because there's a point that I want to emphasize. Read that.
Jeremiah chapter 27 and verse 1. In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Most High, saying, Thus saith the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck.
This was during the period of time when Jeremiah was walking around here with a bond and a chain on his neck.
Now, why that happened?
We're about to go into it. Okay. But listen, he sat back here and had a bond on his neck, and he was ordered to make a bunch of these bonds and send them to all the nations around him.
So you
ever seen those pictures on the Israelite signs where you had that bond of iron? Well, before the yoke of iron, it was the yoke of wood. Yeah. That Jeremiah had to walk around with. He had to walk around with a yoke of wood, a wooden neck harness to represent that we were going to be in captivity. Can you imagine, first of all, how uncomfortable that was and how awkward he made the rest of the people around them feel? Like, this is going to happen to all y'all. These bonds that I'm wearing for 11 years or however long damn Jeremiah to do it.
Yeah, and this ain't no fake hybrid wood that we have today at Home Depot.
And then particle board.
Yeah, the particle board. Man.
And that the rain, the water get on it, I just go snap and break.
Yeah.
Now this is hardcore wood. Point is, he said these yokes were needed to be made for all these kingdoms around them. So bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck. So he's like, Jeremiah had to wear it. And he was ordering Jeremiah to send these bonds to all these kingdoms. So read verse 3.
Verse 3. And send them to the king of Edom.
He said, send these bonds, these heavy wood bonds to the king of Edom. Read on.
And to the king of Moab. And to the king of the Ammonites. And to the king of Tyre. And to the king of Zidon. By the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem, unto Zedekiah, king of Judah.
So what he's saying, he says, send all of these bonds to all of these kings so everybody knows how they have to roll and how they have to operate and how they're going to have to serve King Nebuchadnezzar. Read on.
Verse 4. And command them to say unto their masters, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the power of Israel. Thus shall ye say unto your masters, I have made the earth, the man, and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed me unto me.
So the Most High said, I gave power to whatever king that I felt I want to give it to.
God.
Read on.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon.
He said, all of these cities where I sent yokes to, you're going to have to bow the knee to King Nebuchadnezzar. So I'm letting you know now that the Lord is ordaining this.
This is coming.
So stop fighting it. Don't fight it. Get used to rocking this bracelet. The funny thing is, there was another chapter in which Jeremiah was telling the people that they were going to have to accept that yoke and that oppression. And there was another prophet that wrestled this off the brother's neck, off Jeremiah's neck, and he broke it. He broke it off his neck, and assaulted Jeremiah in the process. And within like 3 months, he died. Yeah. And then Jeremiah had to put a metal one on, a steel one on,
a harder one.
Like you ain't gonna break this. He says, okay, if you're strong enough to break this with wood, then you want to sit back and put an iron one on. Can you imagine that? And Jeremiah didn't do nothing wrong. You gotta wear the man in the iron mask neck bracelet. Yeah. You know how heavy that is, that? And hard that is to carry and deal with that? This is the verdict, because the Most High is like, you know what? If you're gonna fight it, I'm gonna sit back here and emphasize it even more.
I'm doubling down.
You're gonna have to sit back and accept that this is coming. Okay? So he's sending this brace, this wooden brace that represents bondage and yokes to the rest of the nations in the surrounding area. And the Most High is saying, listen, I ordained Nebuchadnezzar to be the head over you. Read on.
Come. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him.
So he says the animals and all of your resources that you rely on to survive, they're going to be at his beckoning call. Now they're his resources. This is what he's saying. Your resources are now his resources.
Transfer of power.
So you're going to have to serve him because the Most High ordained it. Okay? Read on.
And all nations shall serve him, and his son, and his son's son, until the very time of his land come.
So he's saying you're going to have, the nations are going to have to serve him 3 generations. At least 3 generations. And that's around an 80-year period of time anyway. Because that was the time we had up. He said we had to sit back and serve him for 80 years. So serve Babylon for 80 years. So for 3 generations, the nation was going to have to serve Nebuchadnezzar and his family line. Read on.
And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
Mm-hmm. Read on. And then it said after he falls, there's going to be other great kings that take his position. But what he's also saying is your time on the top was short. Okay? And now it's time for y'all to bend the knee to the other nations that have their time to be in power. Read on.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword, and with famine, and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand.
The reason we're going into this chapter is to explain the hesitancy of why High Priest Jadua just doesn't just switch sides automatically because this up-and-coming nation says to do so. There has to be a level of honor and faith that comes with our servitude, and the Most High has to show some type of sign before we just flip and turncoat and change to the winning side. We don't have that luxury. We have to maintain integrity and dedication to the way things are first. Listen, he was telling us that we had to serve the king of Babylon. That didn't mean you didn't have to follow the laws. We had to maintain our spiritual responsibility to the Most High in Christ and sit back here and serve the nation the Most High wants over us. This was always the thing we never accepted, even about our captivity here. We were always supposed to keep our spiritual integrity in this place. Yep. But also know that it was our time to serve, and we had to serve until the Most High pulls us out.
Yeah, and the scripture says, when a servant seeks liberty, give him more what? Fetters. More fetters. Those fetters are all the man-made principles that we had to submit to in a civic level with these nations. You have to lock into their society, their laws, their codes of conduct if it doesn't break the Most High's law. You have a more rigorous system you have to submit to, on top of keeping the biblical commandments and the biblical responsibility. You have double service now. Whereas before, you had your own nation, your own land, your own rules, your own agenda, your own culture, and you keep the laws of the Most High. That should be free. That should be easier. But you don't want to submit. You want liberty. You want to go across these borders and serve these nations. Then go ahead and serve them all the way. Serve and go into their culture and be their servants.
And this is the reality that the high priest understood. They had to be loyal to the people the Most High had that was next after Babylon.
Come on.
So now, but in maintaining that integrity, you're also pissing off King Alexander.
Yep.
And Alexander was going to sit back here and reckon with Israel because they're going to tell him no. But I want to explain why high priest Shadu initially said no in the first place, and why he had to keep that stance. Okay? Let's go back and finish off Jeremiah 27. Give me verse 9 now.
Right. Jeremiah chapter 27 and verse 9. Therefore, hearken not ye to your prophets, nor to your diviners, nor to your dreamers, nor to your enchanters, nor to your sorcerers, which speak unto you, saying, ye shall not serve the king of Babylon.
So what the Mosiah is saying through Jeremiah is, just because somebody out of nowhere says it don't have to be this way, you can't lock into that theme.
Yeah.
You can't lock into this the notion that, hey, some fly-by-night person might say it doesn't have to be that way. You got to follow the new thing what's going on.
Well, so on top of that, the Babylonians had been in power to 605, and then the Persians came in, after the Babylonians 538, and then so 538 all the way down to the introducing of Alexander, you're looking at about 200 and some years.
Yeah.
Things were a Persian way of doing things.
Right.
So it's hard to believe that just because this newfound guy comes in to say, you know what, for the last, I'm the new boss in town,
Yeah.
so y'all gotta provide me provisions.
It's a year and a half. He's a year and a half at the most running with his kingdom.
Right. But you've seen a Persian system be in place for 200 some years.
That took care of you.
Yeah.
That helped, that finance building the wall, finance building the temple. That was all from the Persians. You going to automatically just turncoat and say, no, I'm going to go with a new thing?
Can't do that.
Just on a logical thing, that doesn't make sense. And spiritually, we got stung for switching sides by the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Because the northern kingdom, King Pekah and King Hosea were doing deals with the Egyptian empire, and then it backfired and Assyria took us over. And then we did the same thing with the southern kingdom, having trust in Egypt when we were supposed to have trust in the Heavenly Father.
We do it all the time. Our people like to bet. We wage bets.
Yeah.
Hedge bets.
Yeah. We hedge bets, and we place. We bet it all on black or flip of a coin.
Yeah.
And we always choose wrong. We don't necessarily go into these diviners and use magicians and whatnot. But we always say, man, I bet things are going to work out like this. So I'm gonna try to foreshadow and get ahead of the curve and get ahead of the change and try to make a jump to better pastures and greener pastures and better waters.
Yep.
And before this thing falls apart. There's a lot of people. A lot of our people moved to Africa. A lot of Hebrew Israelites have fled America and have gone to Africa.
And then they go there and they realize these Africans are really enemies out there. Yeah. They hate us. They can't send our guts out there.
Yeah, you have a lot of people that sold everything they got in America and fled to Africa, and some have prospered and some are getting their lands taken, getting their fields taken.
Keep coming up missing.
Yeah, women come up missing.
Women keep coming up missing. They keep coming up missing. They keep coming up missing. They find they're all beaten. They're savagely beaten.
Yeah, because we're trying to get ahead of the curve, get ahead of the fall of America. So we're trying to control and control our destiny
and get out of debt.
Yeah,
a lot of them go out there to get out of debt, trying to save a buck, and they don't know what they're dealing with out there. They don't know what's waiting for them out there. Yeah, was that?
I was gonna say there was somebody who I spoke to a couple years back, and they were like mocking me, saying, "Are you tripping if you staying up over there, man? You bugging. You got to come out here to Africa." I was just like, "Boy, it's gonna get destroyed regardless." You know what I'm saying? Like,
if it's meant for you to get punished, you're gonna get punished. Death is gonna follow you wherever you're gonna go.
A lion, if you're a car, you
can't run. You can't run from judgment out. And people think they can outsmart the will of the Heavenly Father. You can't.
Right.
If you're gonna be obedient, be obedient.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to get away from the impending damage. The damage is coming.
So you're saying that what Israel does naturally is we look for little loopholes in the system and look for escapes from judgment. We do it with our parents too. I'm gonna go to dad. Okay, I'm gonna go to mom. Okay, I'm gonna write my name on the progress report. I'm my dad. So that nobody knows. We have different ways of trying to avoid punishment. The Most High still reveals our folly.
Yep.
Okay? So, and that's the thing. Mosiah is the king of terrors. So we got to sit back and serve him. And trust that if we stay in order with him, everything else will work itself out. And this is what high priest should do, is hedging his bets on staying in order. And trusting the Most High will look after us versus making the logical decision. Because the logical decision will go with the hot hand.
But this is the scary part. If the Most High is not what you're thinking, because a lot of times, a lot of us look for confirmations. We look for like this.
A sign, proof is the right move.
A bird flew right in front of my yard and said, "Oh, that's
or that dead bird in the floor is a bad sign."
That's a sign.
Brother told me. That's why I said it. That's why I said it.
Hey,
Brother said, "Man, I saw a dead bird this morning. I don't know how that made me feel. It made me feel a certain way. Like, what? This is a dead bird."
I felt badly.
Like, why are you tripping on the dead bird? It's an omen. That's something like that. Is it? I didn't know that.
Hey, bro, but we look for confirmation.
It was a red dead.
It was a red dead. It was red and dead. That's a double problem.
Bad things are coming.
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry.
But we have our own. Everybody has their own way of looking for confirmations.
Yep.
My lucky numbers in the lottery, fortune cookies, a T-shirt.
Brothers be doing numerology. They be on some number stuff.
Brothers tapping the numbers out. I keep saying, everywhere I go, I keep seeing the 3.
Are you looking for it, or are you seeing it? Maybe you're looking for it. Because if I'm looking for it, I'll find a 3 if I'm looking for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, now, I'm sorry.
But listen, these false confirmations, if the Most High is not with it, because we didn't counsel, we didn't study, we the Lord, we're really...
The confirmation is in the book.
But I know, but
the confirmation is in the repetitive cycle the Most High shows.
But Israel doesn't do that. Israel says, listen, the Most High, me and Sean have the same conversation today. Talked to a dude, he said the guy talked directly to him, and said, he's not a bad guy, but our people don't know how to go in the book and get spiritual confirmation. We look for it from outside sources, but the problem is it's dangerous.
Yep. Okay? And this is what's happening. But this is the thing. This is why when your life depends on it, like High Priest Shadua has to sit back and look at not just him, but the entire nation. Then what am I going to go off of when I'm making this decision? Because it makes sense. It can make sense. This dude just whipped up on the Persian Empire. This could be the end. Do I sit back here and hold firm and risk destroying the nation again, or do I keep my integrity and trust that keeping my integrity is the will of the Heavenly Father?
Because this is scary, because then you got 2 sets of priests. You got the one guy, he got the horns. He said, you're going to beat these guys. You're going to conquer them with these horns.
Yep.
Another guy said, man...
That was during the time of Jehoshaphat and Ahab.
This is scary. Because you have 2 spiritual entities saying, listen, go here, grab these horns, they're going to push forward, and you will win the war. Other guy said, I'm going to tell you the truth. I saw
all y'all running and scattered.
Scattered like shepherds, sheep without a shepherd. Which confirmation do you listen to?
Okay.
That's why we have to stay locked into the book on a consistent level. Because when you're not locked in, and you're in this situation, you're caught slipping.
Yep. And also, this is why prayer has to matter. This is what Yeshua did also. He prayed and fasted.
That's actually smart.
Because, listen, every time there was a significant time, the ones who were protected, they prayed.
Yeah, you're right.
They fasted.
Yep.
They literally sought out seers and prophets. We don't have that luxury at this point. But the ones who sat back and did it their way and just went off their gut, they got stung all of the time.
So the gut instinct, I got a hunch.
No, that didn't work.
Ear scratching.
When you read historically, we've been going from cover to cover.
Yeah.
The ones that were in order and prayed, went to the priest, sought counsel. Those are the ones where the Most High defended them. Whenever we just figured it out and winged it as well, what we felt, a lot of times we got stung snake eyes.
Or went off the popular choice. I know Shashawan always leans on the point about David had the and the Thummim, right?
Yep.
And that was like a cell phone, quote unquote. Just saying, it was a device where you can connect to the Most High and you can hear His voice.
Yeah.
But before he went to battle war, he consulted the priest and he consulted the and the Thummim, right?
Yep. When Saul rarely did.
Yep. And that was
that was the difference. But if you have a disagreement with the way that things are going, you're gonna make the choice that's gonna say, this is my opportunity to be out.
Yeah.
Or this is my opportunity to go, do the things that are more appealing to me.
Yeah.
And that may be the wrong choice. Versus saying, what would the Most High rather me do? When you look at Ezra, when he in the midst of calamity, Ezra kneeled down, rent his clothes, put ashes upon his head, and sought the Most High in prayer.
Yeah.
So do we do the same thing when we're in that situation where you're going to always be in a situation where you're not sure what decision you're going to make, but you got to make the spiritual decision. And that's not always the easiest decision to make, and the answers and the writing isn't on the wall all the time. It's not like, man, this is a clear choice of what the future is going to behold, and I better make this sound choice. And then when you look at the king of Babylon, when it said that he was at a crossroads, he was at the parting of the ways. He said he looked into the liver, which he sought necromancy. He sought an alternative, a left hand way of trying to get an advantage, and that's what our people do. We roll dice. We try to get an omen. We try to get use anything that looks like magic, or let me go talk to this palm reader down the street.
Yep.
Literally down the street. Our people be doing all kind of things to seek alternatives to get answers versus just saying, let me submit.
Really, it's to get confirmation of what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus sitting back here and just stopping the pace you're going to figure out what the Most High wants on His pace.
And this is scary.
Because that's the thing. A lot of times we want the answer now.
Yeah.
When the Most High makes us take a step back and wait to see what He wants. Right. Normally, that's when we get caught up.
We say, Lord, this is the Lord wanting me to get freedom.
Exactly.
That's how we'll interpret the Most High's message our way.
Versus waiting until you get confirmation before you choose to move forward on the next direction.
And like the last class we had last week, sometimes we have the mindset that, the bigger deal. In Samaria, there's no priest. I'll be the priest. I'll be in the highest mountain.
It's time for me to grow.
I'll be financially backed.
Yep.
We take the business deal mentality.
Yep.
You have the left-hand mindset. You have the popular choice. You have the person who's spooky and makes up their own religious reasoning. Then you have the guy who says, I'm business-minded. This is a better business decision. And the Most High set that up too.
But we'll say it's wisdom. We'll say it's wisdom. When it's not necessarily wisdom, it's just a smart thing.
It's the better deal.
It's a smart thing for you.
But does that mean that's the right choice?
And that's the challenge. And the challenge that the priest has to decide is, okay, the only real backing, the only solid backing we have in this life is the backing by the Heavenly Father.
Yeah.
That's the only solid backing. And success doesn't mean that you're being spiritual. Financial growth doesn't mean you're doing things the right way.
That's the scary part.
That's the problem.
Because people always say, hey, listen, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm blessed right now. And that's when you can't.
But that is not the determining factor in the eyes of the Heavenly Father to determine if the Most High is on your side. Yes, sir?
One thing I'm finding interesting with this is that, as you keep bringing it out, as I'm hearing today, that the high priest, the
do it, yes, sir.
That one thing I was helping make this decision also was he was thinking about the whole nation and not just his own personal, what's going to be the best thing for me, but what's going to be the best for everybody. So that, went to the council of safety.
Yep.
And I'm sure there were other priests. He was the high priest, but there was other priests also. The council were like, now for the nation, what's going to be the best thing for the nation?
Yep.
So I like what you're talking about.
Because what you had mentioned, because that reminds me, before this in paragraph 2, the elders were the ones who backed Jaddua and forced Manasseh, the other high priest, to give up his wife if he was going to keep his position as a priest amongst the Levitical priesthood in Jerusalem. So he sat back here. Once Manasseh, which was the guy that was the brother that was challenging for a position with Judah, once the elders backed the right play and said, listen, man, Alexander's coming down here. If we're going to get backed by the Most High, we can't have our high priest with foreign women. So you're going to have to let this chick go, or you're going to have to go with her and do what you got to do. Because we got to protect ourselves from whatever upcoming danger is coming down the pipeline. And that's the thinking. That, you know what's crazy? That thinking, like you said, Mashaba, that thinking concerning, it's not just about me, it's what does the body need? What's the best move for the body? That should eliminate the ego, the pride, and those personal aspirations that could cloud judgment for the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking about the bigger picture, it attacks the ego, and it attacks that part of you that wants to go get yours. And listen, when you're thinking about the body, it should always go back to what the Most High wants, because you got people's lives at stake at this point.
But then people
and the beautiful thing is, very rarely in history do you have the elders lined up in the right spirit, the high priest in the right spirit, that was able to push out the negative elements. Very rarely you get that opportunity. Because in other times in history, the elders are split, the heads are split with their decisions, and it ends up splitting the entire body in half. Because this is what happened during the Greek time. The high priest Onias was a good high priest. But then there was another faction that wanted it a different way, that felt the Greek way was a better way. And that issue destroys the body.
But that's the politics of Israel. And when Israel's consumed, because we're looking at, this is a good time to bring this out, because we look at it, the nation of, USA, whatever you want to call it, right? It's Babylonian country. There's so many factions: a woke faction, a traditional faction, a far left faction, a far right faction. There's all kind of factions. The same thing applies to Israel, because Israel has different interests. People want different things.
For instance,
yeah.
Biden administration. Everybody wants to act like Joe Biden and them was the wickedest guys in the world, which they are. And then Trump's going to be so much better. Trump, this guy, he's going to do it right. But then when you sit back here, Biden's group, Biden and the people that he selected to be his cabinet members, like Anthony Blinken, which was Secretary of State, all these guys were pro-destroying Russia. Victoria Nuland, all these people were handpicked because they were war hawks and they were groomed in international foreign policy to wipe out Russia. But then you sit back here and Trump's like, just give me a meeting with Putin and in one day it'll be over. It will be over. Then you sit back and say, how's he going to do that? But then you sit back here and look at his cabinet. All of his cabinet, I don't know if y'all noticed, they're pro-war with China. All the people in his cabinet are anti-China. He was given millions and millions of dollars by lobbyists. So was Biden and Kamala Harris. We're given billions and billions of millions of dollars by their lobbyists. The different lobbyists want different things to get done.
Different agendas.
One lobbyist wants to break down Russia and Ukraine. The other lobbyist wants to sit back here. We'll get Russia, but we're going to get Russia by breaking China. It's just a different way to get to the same place. So, you might have Trump might do a couple little whoop-de-whoops here in the country. He might say he's going to take out the immigration issue and build American business infrastructure better. That's fine, but what's your foreign policy? You still trying to sit back here and dominate the world. You're just going at it a different way than Biden. He promised no more war, but his cabinet is anti-China, anti-Iran. What's the difference? Biden's group was anti-Russia, anti-Iran. Is it really a big difference? No, it's not. It's just a different way of attacking the same goal. Both of them want global domination, There's this writer, not a writer, but a news pundit, who explained that every president from George W. Bush Sr. all the way to Trump, none of their policies changed their overall foreign policy goals. They didn't change. Obama did things to set in motion for Biden. George Bush Jr., he set things in motion and Obama just kept going what George Bush Jr. set up in the first place. On a foreign policy set, they might sit back here and sprinkle some domestic policy that's a little different here, a little different there, but overall, they're going for the same goal.
It's hard not to when George Bush Sr. was the head of CIA.
But what the funny thing is, with all that being the case, lobbyists, I don't know if y'all know this, but the laws that are introduced into Congress, you know how these laws are put together? Does anybody know? Laws are put together and written by think tanks.
10 years before it happens.
That's the point. They're written by think tanks, and these think tanks are backed by lobbyists.
For example.
Hold on. Make sure I'm going to slow this down again. Government policy, laws that have to run through the Senate and the Congress and all that stuff is written up by think tanks, and these laws are 400 pages long. They're lawyers and lobbyists that put these 300 to 400 page documents that are bills, and these companies, these think tanks, all these MIT students and these sharp intellectuals, those guys are paid by the same lobbyists and interest groups that pay for what? The president to get actually elected. That sit back and pay for the advertisements and the funding of these campaigns. So these lobbyists are fueling policy. They're fueling who gets into political office. They're fueling the decision making of the entire world. So when these laws are being instituted, like Dawiyad said, there's a paper trail of what they're going to do 5 or 10 years before they put it in execution. And then when they send it through the Senate, you think all these senators are reading 400 pages of documentation?
And they give it to them on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Or not. They'll give it to you on Christmas Eve or not.
Most of the time, it's on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's while the masses of people are distracted watching the Super Bowl.
Watch Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
And they'll give you documentation this thick and say, "Listen, man, I need you to read this by tomorrow." And I want you to just approve it.
You're right.
You gonna sit back here and approve some crap this big? You gonna read it? You be like, okay. You gonna go to 1 or 2 pages and you just gonna let it roll. Because you already know what's in there because they told you to approve this. The same people that financed the bill are paying you. Has anybody heard of AIPAC? AIPAC? Listen, the lobbyists pay the senators and Congress people. The lobbyists pay the people who write the bills. The lobbyists fund the president's campaign. So who runs the country? Because these lobbyists are the ones who want the natural resources in these other countries. So they write up the laws necessary to execute taking out Iran. How do we break down China? How do we bottleneck them and starve them out? Because now it's going to be about what? Once Trump gets into power, mark my words, they're going to start sitting back here and sanctioning China hard. That's the next play. Sanction China, give Taiwan more weapons, force China to make a dumb move and react. And if China reacts, this is why we got to sit back here and cut off and embargo China. What people don't realize is when Japan went crazy and bombed Pearl Harbor, what they don't tell you is they sat back here and crippled Japan's ability to sustain themselves as a country. They sanctioned Japan to the point of desperacy. You wonder why these Japanese go crazy and send these crazy samurai
kamikaze.
I don't know this piece.
Yeah. Ninja flies.
These kamikaze plane guys to just blow up this military base. One, Japan was forced and backed into a corner to make a move because they were starving. Why were they starving? Because America kept sanctioning them and forcing them to make a reaction. They're going to do the same thing to China. What am I trying to say? Lobbyists run this whole thing. Lobbyists are disguised by the same people who own BlackRock. All these major corporations, they're the ones backing this whole process. Okay? And that's how countries are divided, but they're pushing the same direction.
And my question is this. Wasn't Israel the same? Where you had the princes and the wealth of the nation determine policy of the nation based off of what political agenda the princes had? So it's
and then those princes put pressure on the kings to flow one way or the other way.
So this is how politics and business affect decision making when it comes to governmental figures, i.e. the priesthood. So they have a major responsibility and a lot of different options on the table. And the question is, do you trust the business decision, the so-called confirmation, the so-called spiritual decision, the selfish win, personal win decision, or the decision you can't really see? The Most High just said, based off of history and scriptures, and the Lord, and your connection to God, this is what I should do.
And that's all you got.
That's a tough position to be in.
Well, I'll take that tough.
And I'm just saying it's
because I'm gonna tell you this. What do you think we're gonna have to face?
It's a character
when
decision.
Everything falls apart and there's martial law.
It's a character decision.
We're gonna be facing the same thing when eventually our backs are against the wall, and if you speak the word of the Most High, there's gonna be consequences and repercussions. We're going to have to make those same decisions. Do you stand up for a spiritual premise, or do you use quote-unquote wisdom, don't teach these scriptures, and don't operate with the same morals that you normally would before the verdict comes down about attacking the Jew? These are real issues that we all have to face and be conscious of. But Jadua and the elders that he was counseling with made the best decision for the nation. And they obviously talked like we're talking now. What happened when we sat back here and turned cold against Babylon? The Most High wiped us out. We just got our nation back established. We just got a temple less than 100 years ago. We just got the walls rebuilt maybe 80 years ago. I think that's 200 years ago. No, I'm going to say around 150 for the temple and 100 with the walls. We can't make this emotional judgment that can affect everybody.
And we do this on smaller levels, individual levels, when we jump to a different job. Mm-hmm. When we say, well, you know what, I need a new job. I don't like the job I'm at. The job, a new job doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be better. Every job has its pros and cons. Every job has its situation where you're like, you know what, you're going to have this kind of boss, or you may get paid time off. But then now you got a boss that's a tyrant.
Yep. You
don't know the trade-off. You never know there's always going to be a trade-off in every decision you make. Yeah. And we do this all the time when we say, man, I'm just not happy where I'm at. These people are, they aiming for me, they gunning for me. They're going to do that anywhere. But you got to learn how to be content wherever you go. I just want to get a verse on that. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9, actually. Could I read that real quick before you head out? 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9. And then also Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 6, verse 9.
First Timothy chapter 6 and verse 9. It says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation.
It said, but the richness, the desire for richness and wealth, 1 Timothy 6 and 9. What's 9. Ecclesiastes 6 and 9 also.
Gotcha. Cool.
But read verse 6 too. Read verse 6.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6. But godliness with contentment is great gain.
See, we always got to consider, you know what? Is me being okay? I might be a little poor. I might be a little broke. I might not have the money or the financial freedom I want, but I'm doing things right by the eyes of the Most High. Yep. Am I okay with that, or should I go search for greener pastures financially? We always get into the situation where there's a compromise for spirituality versus financial stability. Which one's better for me? Everybody gets betwixt those two ideals. Read on.
It says, for we brought nothing into this world.
Go ahead. And
it is certain.
Go ahead.
We can carry nothing out.
So making a financial play isn't always the best decision. You got to always look at the most spiritual decision. The problem is, if you're making a spiritual decision, there's a problem if you're not what? Read on.
It says, and having food and raiment, Let us be therewith content.
It's hard to make a spiritual decision if you're not what?
Content.
If your spirit is not content on where you are. If you're not happy in your situation, it's hard to make a spiritual decision.
Yep.
It's hard because what's going to plague you, go to Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 6, verse 9.
Bible, got it.
Mm-hmm. Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 9. What's going to plague you is this.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 9. Better is the sight of the eyes.
Which means I'm content on what I see and where I'm at. Go ahead.
Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire.
So if I'm not content, what will always get the best of you? The wandering of desires.
Yep.
I wonder if there's something better for me. I wonder if the opportunity is better. I wonder if I have a better opportunity elsewhere. That's why people jump camps.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people ain't happy with camps. I was with this
That's
camp.
why women ain't happy with their husbands.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not happy with this camp. I'm jump to this camp. I'm not happy with this person. I'm going to get to this person. I'm not happy with this job. I'm going to get to that job. If you're not content on where the Most High got you at, what's going to be killing you at all times is the wandering of desire. Right. It's the what ifs. It's the what ifs, and I wonder if there's got to be a better man for me.
I deserve better.
It's got to be a better place for me.
Never settle.
Never settle for less.
Yeah,
you know, I've settled in my life. You know,
people have been settling for you too. How about that?
Exactly.
They've been settling with your bullshit too. Excuse my French, but that's the truth.
But there's
a lot of settling going on.
But this is what people do when they're not content.
Is this one-way settling?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
It is one person settling. What about you? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
If this can be added to the scriptures, I don't want to really have Mark chapter 4 verse 19, when it says, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches,
Yeah,
and the lust of other things entering in, choke the word, and it becometh unfruitful.
Well, hold on now, sir. Hold on now, sir. I reckon we got Mark chapter what?
Chapter 4 verse 19.
Okay. Let's go there real quick. I'll go right back to it.
Mark chapter 4 and verse 19.
Read that, sir.
Mark chapter 4 and verse 19. And the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches.
Why does it say riches are deceitful? Why are riches deceitful? Because it's the idea that if I pursue these riches, I'll be happy. If I pursue these things I want, then I'll have peace. The reality is, if you're not at peace with what the Lord has given you anyway, whatever pursuits you're going to go and pursue is not going to make you happy. Happiness comes from the Lord. Happiness comes from Christ abiding in you. Without that, you're going to always be angry about your height, about your teeth, about whatever the hell's in your life. There's always going to be reasons to be upset about who you are.
I hate my gums because they're black.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Listen, there's always going to be something to be unhappy about and to not be at peace about. But if you're abiding in Christ, that's where that peace of mind comes from. But people think the pursuit of riches, the pursuit of finance, the pursuit of a new man, a new woman, that's going to make you happy. It's not.
Carnal trophies.
Carnal trophies. Listen, like me and Danielle talk about brothers be they look for trinkets, and trinkets make them happy. This endeavor, this item, Jordans, clothes, outfits, jewelry, and that pursuit of little trinkets brings about peace in people's minds
because they temporarily have something to aspire to that according to them is within their reach, and once they get it, it becomes baseline. Baseline meaning that this is the new normal, and now here comes in another desire.
And this is the problem: serving the Most High and having peace in serving the Most High is never enough for people. How come serving the Lord, studying and reading and learning and getting closer to Him, how come that's not enough for us?
It's a great question to ask.
That's a real question. How come just staying in order every day, reading these scriptures, and finding peace in this book every day, how come that doesn't make the majority of mankind and womankind happy? it's because Christ is not enough in you. That should sit back here and solve it all. Does that mean you don't work hard? Yeah, you work hard. I'm all working hard and growing and trying to push to be better. Well, that's all good. I'm not saying you got to sit back and be a monk and just read verses and do nothing. I'm not saying that. But how come the pursuit of getting close to the Lord isn't good enough for you? Why are there still voids in our life? Why is there still unhappiness in our spirit? Because the reason people pursue for riches and pursue this is because there is voids in their heart and voids in their life. Ultimately, how come the Lord ain't enough? And isn't the Most High or what? He's a jealous power.
True.
You don't think he's looking at you and looking at us like, well, how come I'm not enough for you? This is why he doesn't give you the things you want. Because he's not enough for you. Everything else on top of serving Christ is just cake. That's how we have to learn to live. Everything on top of me learning Christ and embracing Christ and understanding Christ is icing on the cake in his life. If that's our mindset, he'll give us way more than what we got now. But because we keep pushing and fighting, like you read in James 4, about warring and lusting to have, and the more you work hard, you don't get it, because the things you're pushing for is to add upon your lust. He's saying the same thing. How come you're not warring to get closer to him? How many of us are doing that? Warring to understand him better. And understand his will.
Only in a tight situation.
When Israel wants to get closer to God.
That's it.
That's it. But that's the problem. When things are mellow under control, now let me look for something else to get on top. Because there's a void there. Listen, the self-esteem is a major void. Feeling like I've accomplished something is a major void. How come the accomplishment is in the fact that I understand how the Most High thinks? Or at least to a degree. And my goal is every day to get closer to him. Isn't that an accomplishment? Isn't that something to be happy about? The problem is, we want that too. But there's other things that are more important. But let's finish this verse.
I need a win right now.
What does that mean? There's a bunch of wins in the Bible. There's a bunch of wins. There's a bunch of stories about wins. But you can pattern. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What does that even mean?
I need a win right now.
What does that mean?
You don't understand.
I don't. I'm asking.
You don't understand.
What does getting a win mean?
You see, the problem is y'all understand me.
There we go.
And then you know what? Maybe you don't care about me. Maybe you don't want me to be here. Maybe you're telling me to leave. Like, nobody said any of these things. Where is this coming from?
Is that it?
Maybe I'm not an Israelite.
Yeah. Maybe there's no love here. Like, whoa. Because I'm not co-signing your desire for a WF.
I'm not feeling the love. Nobody agrees with me. You know, really, I don't care about my best interest.
You don't understand what I've gone through. You don't understand the trouble. You don't understand the trouble I've been going through.
Yeah.
All the suffering.
I've been through a lot of things, and really, it's like nobody cares here about the things I've been going through. Like, where all this conversation? Where does this come from? Because you can't have your particular, trophy, or your particular pursuit. Now everybody is
to justify who you are as a man or a woman, because that's how we operate. We got to get these things so that we're justified as a man or a woman.
Now I need to be validated, and now everybody's
that's the word. Validation.
Everybody becomes my enemy because I haven't had my personal validation. And if you disagree with me,
what people don't understand
that means you hate me.
The personal validation is Christ. The personal validation is I understand the Most High and His will now. It's no deeper than that. But when you say that,
that's not what I'm asking.
There's a staleness there. It's like, yeah, I know, I got that, but there's got to be more to it, right? No, there isn't any more to it. There isn't any more to it. I guess how come we can't embrace that?
Well, I need to travel. Because I hear you saying it's always bad news. I need to get away from it.
Why is that bad news?
You know what?
Why is that statement?
Everybody
Because people do receive that as it's bad news. How is it bad news? Learn to love the Most High and learn to embrace serving Him. Yes, sir?
Question. So,
Question.
I'm talking so in serving the Most High and doing things to please Him, like we read about how priest
Jadua, yeah.
Jadua, don't put yourself first, put others first.
Good.
Like,
How come that doesn't make people happy?
Like Philippians 2. Esteem others
Yeah.
better than yourself.
And then the end.
That's
No mas. That's
it.
it.
To the Most High.
And the thing is this: the Most High is about learning to find gratification that other people were helped.
Well, I have to keep losing.
Well, why is that a loss? Why is that a loss? Why isn't that a blessing? Why isn't it a good thing that your life is based upon making other people's lives better? And you go home and you go to sleep and say, you know what the blessing is? The fact that somebody else's life got advanced because of the help that I was partially able to help and bring to the table. Yes, sir.
This is a question because of the research you've been doing. So is it Jeremiah chapter 44 where all the Israelites were like, since we stopped serving the other gods, we're just unhappy. Our lives are nothing. That serving or the Israelites coming out of Egypt, that since we're coming out here and serve your God, Moses, things are so bad for us. Things are so ruined for us because we're serving your God. That this just ain't working.
Listen, and those are the people, unfortunately, when you read Hebrews 3 and 4, that tie into that story in Egypt, those are the ones who aren't making the kingdom. There was a verse that I went into like 2 weeks ago in Jeremiah, and I'll promise I'll go back on topic in a little bit. This verse jacked me up. It was Jeremiah 31 and 29 and 30. Jeremiah 31, verse 29 and 30. Follow on, let's read this real quick.
Tahawam Racha, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Banya Sha'ala.
Tahawam Racha, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Banya Sha'ala. I'm much. What? Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah.
I don't want to make this too much about this, but we're talking about it, so let's talk about it. This is talking about Jeremiah 31 is dealing with, when we're getting purged in the wilderness, and that purging process, and then after we get purged, the Most High changes our heart and gives us a fleshy heart versus stony heart. Okay? But read verse 29.
Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 29. In those days they shall say no more.
He says, in those days when he changes everybody's heart, it's not going to be known what?
The fathers have eaten a sour grape.
What the hell does that mean? He says it's not going to be known that the fathers have eaten the sour grape. When you eat a sour grape, how does your face look?
Puckers.
You got that pucker bitter face, huh?
Yep.
He says it's not going to be known that the Jews are going to be bitter and angry about their life and unhappy about their circumstances. Read on.
And the children's teeth are set on edge.
They're vexed, they're mad, they're pissed, they're unhappy. There's not peace of mind in their heart. Read on.
But everyone shall die for his own iniquity.
But everybody's going to die, especially who? Read on.
Every man that eateth the sour grape.
Listen, everyone that partakes in that bitterness is going to die in their iniquity. The bitter, angry person that's not content with how the Most High sets up our life. We were supposed to sit back here and serve the Heavenly Father with gladness and joyfulness of heart. And anybody that sits back here and bites that sour apple and embraces their anger and feeds on their bitterness, they're going to die in their iniquity. Women and men, because that's what's going to happen when we get purged in the wilderness.
That's what the death angel is coming to.
Listen, the death is coming to them. The ones who know the law, know the scriptures, and still can't see the good in their life. That's what we have to sit back here and fight to protect ourselves from, is being those bitter people. That's the challenge.
That's the judgment.
But the problem is, people become bitter when they're trying to live a life of the Most High. They don't really know what to do. People want to serve God and live their own life. And when they're pushed to a corner where they have to serve the Most High, and Christ has to be number one in their priority, and their happiness has to be based upon the works they do in Christ, then you get the bitter face. Then you get the angry, sour grapes face. And those are the ones who don't make it. Because ultimately, if you can't find gladness and joy in your service, you're on your way out.
It's the same,
either here or in that wilderness.
But it's the same thing. We always talk about the curses. But this is the reason why we got into the curses.
Kind of. Yeah. But the Most High is like, if you're going to be bitter about serving me, I'm going to show you what bitterness looks like. I was watching the Free State of Jones a couple of days ago about black folks in the South of Mississippi in the Civil War times. I'm like, bro, it sucked to live in the Civil War times in the Jim Crow South. It sucked. There was the lead black actor in the movie. They had just, the war had ended, the South had lost, and they had set laws up to where black folks can vote now. And people don't realize that Republican was the way to go as a black voter. Democrats was never for black people. It was Republicans. But as this brother was sitting back here going to all the plantation was still operating, but they were free men, so to speak. They found out this brother was the ringleader to get the black folks to vote Republican. And then this brother was walking down, he had his little knapsack, and he's sitting back here walking down a long country road, bro, and there was nobody there. And these 4 white people, hey, nigger! And they started running at him, and he was like, there was nobody there, bro. There was four against 1. And they're running, and he's trying to keep it cool. He's looking around, and he looks back. He goes walking a little faster. Then he starts jogging. He's like 4 old men running at. How fast is he going to get at? This is an older brother at. He's running at, and he lost. 4 guys got him, Mike. And then the next day, they took all the paperwork, all the signatures of the black voters he got, and they threw it in front of his house. His wife wakes up, sees the paperwork scattered everywhere. And then, the Great White Hope by Matthew McConaughey. He's always like, in every movie, he loves the black guys.
I'm Matthew McConaughey. I have a sympathy towards him.
Yeah, towards the black man. So he's always like...
He pulled up in that Lincoln out?
Yeah, he pulled up in Lincoln out. He pulled up in the Lincoln carriage, the 1865 Lincoln carriage out. And he sits back here and he sees the brother out. He's lynched and castrated out. It's the worst thing ever, bro. I'm like, we caught hell. We caught hell. And to realize that level of hatred that they did to us, in part was because of our hatred towards the Heavenly Father.
There's a mirror. And
that stings too. Because you want to sit back here and just, it's that, because those are the kind of movies that draw me into truth. Yeah. Amistad, Middle Passage. Middle Passage was the one that broke me out. HBO's Middle Passage. That was the worst ever. But those movies was push me to the truth. When you realize and you read, it was us. We hated serving the Most High.
What's the passage?
In Jeremiah, the scripture says, we called it the burden of the Lord. It was a burden to serve the Most High. I'm going to show you what a burden is. I'm going to show you what a burden is. You want any type of rights? We're going to kill you. You want any type of position in society? We're going to kill you and lynch you and shame you. And I'm going to show you what a burden is in this world. Because serving the Most High was a burden to us. We hated it. And you know what? We hate it now. Because serving the Lord means you're going to be a service to the men around you. Serving the Lord means you're going to serve people that don't make no damn sense to you. And people hate that. People hate the fact how constraining it is to serve the Lord. and how there's a lack of freedom because of the needs of the people keep pulling you back to them.
Selfless.
A perfect example is Christ's life. Christ couldn't go nowhere without getting pulled on. That's what serving the Lord looks like. Your life is no longer your own. Because if you have answers and solutions, people need it. And that's what eats people away. I can't just live my life. I can't do what I want to do because I got to sit back here and stop every 5 minutes and give the body what they need.
My life is not at my pace.
And not at my control.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the point. I don't want to get too far out of it.
It goes back to integrity. It goes back to knowing the Most High and making sure your morals, ethics, and principles and character.
And accept.
It's dealing with the acceptance of the life, the acceptance of the book, and the acceptance of the sheep around you. And the acceptance of the people above you for what they need.
Come.
And that you're technically a slave. You're a slave outside the book, and you're a slave inside the book.
Because when you read Leviticus, where the children of Israel are servants to me.
Come on, nobody likes that.
People can accept, I'm a servant to God. I serve God. I will follow the Sabbath.
Yeah.
I will not eat pork. And I will not go to the club on Fridays. We can accept that. That's service. But what we don't want to accept is serving the Lord means serving your people. When we was reading last week about the kingdom and how when we finally get our power, it said, there was a verse, I think it was in Isaiah, where it said Judah or Israel will finally find out that the strength is in the people. And I'm paraphrasing the word. But on Monday, we was going to that class, and it says, when we get to the kingdom and that stony heart is taken from us, we'll finally realize that the power is about the people. And it says the princes will remember the power is with the people. The power is in the people. The power is in the service of the people.
I have enough. They'll say, I have enough.
God. And it says the priest will be satiated. Why would it say when we get to the kingdom and the Most High takes that negative heart from us, the priest will be satiated? Because without that evil heart being taken from us, the people are never satiated. We're not content with the life the Lord has given us. It takes Christ having to come back here, purge us in the wilderness, to get to the point where we are content with the life the Lord gave us. That's it. Because if we can sit back here and be content with the way the life the Lord gave us, now we can think clearly and spiritually. Now we can make decisions that benefit the body and not me. And like Sham Shawana said earlier, if I can't sit back here and be content with the life that the Most High gave me, you can't even start thinking properly and spiritually.
Right.
You will be disconnected just because your desires aren't aligned with the Heavenly Father's desires. You had your verse in Ecclesiastes, right? 6,
yeah,
right?
But Mashaba had Mark. I don't think we finished reading.
Okay, let's finish reading Mark. Let's finish reading Mark 4:19. It's down, right?
How do you want to go?
Yeah. Let's start again. Dawa.
Mark chapter 4 and verse 19. And the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lusts of other things entering in.
Other focuses, other distractions. Why do people embrace distractions? Because we have voids in our spirit. Why do we have voids in our spirit? Because Christ isn't enough. The scriptures of serving the Most High isn't enough to satiate us.
I got needs, I got wants.
And that's the problem. And that's what the Lord is looking at us.
That's why the Most High said He loves the cheerful giver.
Okay.
Because you can give, but doesn't mean you do it cheerfully. People give all the time.
Remember the cartoon complaining? Remember? That was at the cartoon complaining.
Yep. Yeah.
I remember, like, why is he so angry?
He growling at it.
Because he's saying words underneath it.
People give all the time. But people give with the tone of, don't say I never gave you nothing.
Yeah.
Don't ever say I ain't do nothing right for you. That don't sound like you're doing it for the right reason and the right cause. Yeah, it comes with a statement and a briefing. You got to get briefed on receiving charity.
You're right.
Yeah. Now
Make sure you count this one.
Yeah. Now you know what I just did for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, why I got to get a briefing? before I receive some charity.
You want to make sure it counts. That you log on the scorecard.
Yeah, I'm up 3. You down 2. It's 3.
Exactly.
It's 3-2. I'm up.
Oh,
I gave you more than you gave me. But that don't mean you're cheerful. You're a cheerful giver. Don't mean you do it with joy. You find joy in giving. People give all the time. You just don't do it the right spirit.
Kinda. So let's continue, man.
And the lust of other things enter in, choking the word, and becometh unfruitful.
It becomes unfruitful because there's always a competition for the Most High's time. This is why a lot of times the Spirit don't work with brothers and the Spirit don't work with men, with sisters, because there's too many things, there's too many lusts competing for the mental time it takes for the Spirit to work through you. When you sit back here and read Wisdom of Solomon, says, into a malicious spirit, what? Wisdom won't enter. But that's also a distracted spirit. A spirit that's split 2 or 3 different directions. With 2 or 3 different focuses and intentions. How is the Spirit going to work with somebody when they have a bunch of different goals and focuses competing for your focus and attention? The Spirit works with the person who is committed. And there's no distractions, and it's the only thing this person wants is this one thing. That's how you can become potent. That's how you're potent in anything in life. The only thing that matters is the one thing I'm tasked to do, that I've embraced. This is why musicians, when all they give a damn about is music, they become great in it. Athletes, the only thing that matters is that athleticism and sports, they become great in it. We're supposed to be Bible teachers, but we don't commit to the Bible 100%, and we wonder why we're lacking in it. It's the truth. Let's continue.
Verse 20. And these are they which are sown on good ground.
We're gonna let it go. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes in the Bible 6 and 9.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 9. Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit.
But you got to understand why he's saying this. What he's saying is, we just read 1 Timothy chapter 6 about being content. He's saying this because it's better to be content on what you have in front of you than to sit back and wonder what life would be like somewhere else doing something different.
It's agony.
And if you're not content on what the Most High has in front of you, in the position and the role you play for the Most High, you're always going to be wondering what if. What if is going to get the best of you. And he's going to show you how men, read verse 7.
Verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man
No,
mad.
verse 7. Verse 7. And you're in Ecclesiastes chapter 6.
Oh, it's a lot. Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 7. For what hath the wise more than the fool?
No,
7.
Verse 7.
Oh. Got it. Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 7. All the labor of a man is for his mouth.
And he's showing you every man only works really to do what?
Feed himself.
To feed. It's about himself.
Yeah.
Every man's effort and strength is to feed self.
Yep.
His focus is himself. Read on.
And yet the appetite is not filled.
But he's showing you that when you actually only concerned about serving you, you're never what?
Satisfied.
You're never satisfied.
Satiated.
You're never satisfied when you're only concerned about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're always going to be considering what else you're lacking, what else you need, what you're missing, what you don't have, what life gets better because somebody got something better than what you got and somebody got something different than what you got. And you're never happy because your focus is wrong. And as long as you focus on yourself, you never will be satisfied in life. And that's why, now read on to verse 8.
Verse 8. For what has the wise more than the fool?
Now he's comparing the difference. What does the wise person got more? What's the difference between the wise person and the fool? The wise person is content. The fool is not content. He's only selfish. That's the difference between the wise and the fool. One is content and one is not. Read on.
What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living?
You know what the poor understand? Man, did I eat today? Did I have clothes on my back? Then I'm cool. Then the Most High is good. Then you know what? Then that's better for me to learn how to be content than to me to have all this extensive living and extravagant living. That all the extravagant living don't mean nothing. That I'm content, even though I'm poor, I still ate and I'm happy. Read on. That's the difference. Read on.
Verse 9. Better is the sight
and that's why we come into this verse where he's showing you that it's better to just be content. Whether if you're the poor man, it's better to be the poor man being content, or it's better to be wise than the fool. I'm more content than somebody that's never satisfied. Now we understand why he's saying this. It's better to focus on what you have versus to wonder what you never had, what you're missing out on, what life would be like if it was, you're in a better place. If you would have made such and such decisions, if I could turn back the clocks and the time, I would have done something different. I would have been this person, or you know what? Maybe if I jump ship and I leave this circumstance, the most I got something better for me. Man, that life, you'll never know what life is going to be like. You'll never be content with life as long as you're wondering and your desire is not stable and fixated on the Most High. So that's why this is coming from Solomon, who had it all. This is coming from Solomon, who's done it all. This is coming from Solomon, who understands it all.
Who couldn't be satiated.
Who couldn't be satisfied. That's why I said all is vanity. Mm-hmm. So it's better to just learn how to be content. Ultimately, and that keeps you grounded. Yep. That keeps you fixated on the Most High. If you don't learn how to be content, you're in trouble. Let that go.
God. So you got something?
I had a Tupac quote for you.
Oh man, I thought we were teaching Bible class today, man. You got dear mama. Did you get that?
No. Listen. The song's called "Ready for Whatever," right? He said, "Listen, Tupac is the pulse of carnality. A lot of times, he said,
he still is.
He still is. He was like a master.
30 years later, bro.
I what the people wanted. He said." Things wouldn't be. He said.
There was a brother said that.
A brother said that.
There was a brother I worked with said that in Florida. He was a prophet, You know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
he said things wouldn't be so bad if we got the things that we never had. So I'm ready for whatever. Listen, he's gonna go into carnality and robbing, stealing, and killing and taking what he wants because he's not getting what he never had. So things wouldn't be so bad if I got the things that I never had. All I'm saying is that's a carnal man's thinking pattern. We've been talking about this whole time about Israel's state of I'm not content. Yeah. I'm just showing you a very carnal man shares the same thought pattern that we're teaching against. Mm-hmm. Things are bad because you don't have the certain things that you never had.
But things are bad because you weren't serving the Most High. Yeah. And that's why you didn't get the good things in the first place. But I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, when you think like Tupac, you know you're out the spirit. That's a good way to. That's a good way to measure.
That's a great parameter.
Listen, only God.
In the spirit.
Yeah.
Tupac songs.
Yeah. Listen.
Only God can judge me.
Only God can judge me. Only God can judge me now. When you start talking,
the Bible will tell you off right there.
When you start saying that to yourself, man, only God can judge me. You're in a bad situation, bro.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just saying, when you agree with carnal people, that's an indicator of my spirit.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. And if you agree with those quotes online, I got pictures of like celebrities, the celebrity Will Smith and Morgan Freeman.
They don't appreciate
his words here. Like, okay, you don't follow those memes. They're lame.
Don't fly with chickens, fly with eagles. Chickens don't have wings, eagles do. All that. Those carnal quotes Those carnal quotes will take you out the spirit.
Oh my God! So let's reel this back in. We went out there. We threw it out there in the middle of the ocean. We got to reel it. Let's sit back here and go back into Josephus. I don't know how to segment that in. I don't know how to go from the chicken quote out back to Josephus. We're gonna go there though.
Were we in Jeremiah 27:10, or were we in? I thought you were.
We were in Jeremiah 27:10.
Yes, sir.
It was 1 through 11. I think we got the point of it was that Jeremiah had Most High had Jeremiah send neck burdens to all the different countries around the yokes to Esau, Moab, Ammon, Tyre, and Zidon, Philistia, and Zedekiah, saying, "Listen, you guys are gonna all have to wear this and accept Nebuchadnezzar as the head." Okay, it was Jehoiakim, not it was Joachim, not Zedekiah. But the point is, he was saying everybody had to accept the captivity, and that was the mindset Judea had when Alexander was coming down to wipe out Jerusalem.
Yep.
Okay, him and the elders understood they had to stand in order, and the Most High would let them know when to submit or if they were supposed to submit to this new upstart kingdom coming in. So, where we're at in the Josephus is, so Alexander came into Syria. I don't know what number that is. It's paragraph 3. 317? Line 317, Taiwan.
Got it. So Alexander came into Syria and took Damascus. And when he had obtained Sidon, he besieged Tyre. When he sent an epistle to the Jewish high priest to send him some
auxiliaries
and to supply his army with provisions, and that what presents he formerly sent to Darius he would now send to him, and choose the friendship of the Macedonians, and that he should never expect of so doing.
No, never repent of so doing.
And he should never repent of so doing.
Alexander, listen, man, you gonna give me money today? You gonna pay this? You gonna pay these debts next month, and the month after that? He said, "You never, ever stop paying this money.
Don't change the surplus that's coming.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Once you pay this money, don't stop.
Don't stop.
He said, "A one time hit a quitter. This is forever."
Yeah.
So let's continue. This is what Alexander's saying.
But the high priest answered the messengers that he had given his oath to Darius not to bear arms against him, and he said that he would not transgress this while Darius was in the land of the living.
He took the honorable spiritual stance.
There was fear associated with it. There was fear in that.
There's no doubt about it. We're going to read about later on. Now, he was really stressing out about how this is going to play out. Listen, just because a person makes a decision that has integrity doesn't mean there's fear there. There's not fear. You have to make moves that are scary and stand on your spiritual principles, and that's all you got in the face of danger. Yeah. It could have been this death, and he had to stand on that. Listen, I took this stance because this was the most spiritual stance I can take, and I'm going to live with that. If it don't work out the way it goes, it don't work out. But you got to stand on something. Well, let's keep going.
But you know what? I love what you're saying. But once again, it's hard to stand on spiritual principle when your heart is conflicted with the spiritual principle you're standing on.
And you have a bunch of lusts and desires in it.
Yeah, it's just hard to maintain this stance. This is the right stance. But it's very hard to maintain if I'm not content with the Father.
But you have to understand this. Judea is ready for this decision because he's had to make spiritual stances this entire time. Judea had to sit back and make a decision opposite of what his father Jonathan did when his father, the high priest, killed Jesus for being an upstart and rivaling Jonathan in the first place. Huh. So Judea has already shown he's been making decisions of that deal with integrity versus the flesh. Because he could have sat back here and manufactured some scenarios to remove Manasseh out the way on his own. But he took the spiritual stance and it worked out for him. So he's showing a pattern of making decisions that require integrity and faith.
And the same thing happened with Nehemiah when he didn't hang out with the nations. And that, remember, they had that office.
Yeah.
He was supposed to have a meeting with Sanballat in the office and have a one-on-one meeting, and he kept pushing the meeting off. I'm not finna.
Well, they wanted that meeting to be in Tyre. They wanted to kill him. But it was still about having Judea had already been showing that he was making decisions that were spiritual and not carnal. Okay, so this decision it was serious, and the lives of the nation was at stake. But he had already had a pattern of having its integrity, so he was ready for it. Let's continue.
Upon hearing this answer, Alexander was very angry, and thought he determined not to leave Tyre.
He said, though he determined not to leave Tyre, read on.
And though he determined not to leave Tyre,
because he was in mid-siege with the Tyre people. It was a 6-month siege because he had to sit back here and build this land bridge to get all the way to this island. I don't know how the hell you make a land bridge. in the middle of the damn ocean. But he made a land bridge to get to this island to wipe them out, and it took a 6-month process to do it. So he's let me finish them, and I'm gonna come wipe these guys out later. Read on.
Which was just ready to be taken. Yet, as soon as he had taken it, he threatened that he would make an expedition against the Jewish high priest, and through him teach all men to whom they must keep their oaths.
He's like, bro, John, listen, Alexander said, listen, I'm going to go out here and show you what happens when you don't sit back here and lock in to me. And I'm going to show the entire region what happens when you don't lock into me.
I'm going to make an example out of you.
So that message came back to him. You know, sometimes you make the right decision, the spiritual decision, and you think sometimes the Most High is supposed to back it as soon as you make the good decision.
Yeah.
You make the good play, you should get blessed, right? He made the good play, and Alexander said, listen, man, I'm coming for you. I'm going to wipe these boys out, and I'm coming right to you. I'm going to make an example of you, Jadua. Well, you want to sit back here and roll that way? I'm coming for you.
Well, you know,
I'm going to show you what oaths look like. I'm going to show you about keeping oaths. What's he going to say?
Or he didn't, Jadua didn't send another letter saying, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I was mistaken.
Yeah. I read that first letter incorrectly.
Yeah, I rushed it when I was reading it.
I thought you meant. Yeah. I thought you asked me to stop to not pay Darius.
Yeah.
I'll pay you. He didn't sit back and backtrack. He said, "Yeah. It was my scribe's fault. My scribe wrote the information wrong." Listen, you had to sit back here and stick to what he said. Knowing that these guys are on a winning streak and they're on their way down to come get us.
Who knew that the Most High was turning the nation upside down?
Who would have thought? Nobody knows at this point how this is going to go down. Nobody knows. But a lot of times when you make decisions based on making the right spiritual call, you don't know. All you got is scriptures. And I'm going to say one thing. And then what you got to keep doing, you got to keep repeating those scriptures. Because you make the move, and you're out here sweating bullets, and you got to keep quoting verses, keep talking about stories, keep talking about Father Abraham, keep talking about Moses. You got to keep talking these verses. Because you ever notice you make the right decision, or you make a decision that requires integrity, and then you feel good now, but an hour later you start thinking, was this the right move on?
Stressing.
You start feeling that weird stomach, feeling like you can't eat food.
Yep.
You're stressed. You don't know, man, what's going to happen? Did I make the right move? Was I being too spiritual? Was I not diplomatic enough? I should have played the game? Shouldn't I have played the game? I don't know what I'm doing now. Then you got to go into verses and scriptures to counteract the doubt and the fear that's in your head. Yeah. This is why it's so important to be immersed in the book, so that you remember these stories. If you don't, yes, Michelle.
I have a question. I'm not the timeline. So is this after Daniel had his visions?
Yes.
That this is when so
because Daniel, don't forget, Daniel had his visions in Babylon. Right. Then he finally got moved out to the Persian Empire. But that was early in Cyrus's time. He left from Babylon and advised in Cyrus's region. But yeah.
So if I'm putting this together, so this is where Jehu had to even go back now and go find those records.
Yes.
And it's being studied and staying in the scriptures like, hold up, wait a minute.
Yep.
Are we really living this the right way? Because that fear and you said that pressure coming, he had to have gone back to like, hold up, this was the right decision because this is what happened with Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you, brother.
And then the situation is this. You know, leading up to all this information, sometimes you're not even sure how much they were studied up on.
Right.
How did they really know this was the time of the goat? You know what I mean? Because that was what Daniel's 8 is the answer to that. It was the goat and the ram. Huh. Did they really know that's what this was? The he-goat was Grecian? Did they read that much? Because listen, the messed up thing is when we go into Ezra, they were barely reading the Bible. Matter of fact, in Nehemiah, which is like 100 years before this happened, they have for the first time since Judges celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles. So how much were they reading? How much were they had access to the information? How much were they studying?
But it was there.
It was definitely there.
But it was there, but they take the time to go and study.
Probably not.
Wow.
That's the messed up thing is.
And then also you have nobody knew who Alexander was.
Yeah.
Everybody knew his father, Philip.
Yeah.
Philip was famous for war.
Right.
But here's his son who's 19, 20 years old, kid. Nobody knew who he was. He didn't have a history of victorious battles.
Yep.
That's his first real battle coming into after Hellespont.
Yeah.
Crossing over Hellespont.
So once again, you know these records are all herky jerky. They know how to do priestly stuff, but the crazy thing is we didn't really have a strong grasp of all the history even then.
No.
We didn't. So this makes it even a greater faith move. Because you just got to stand on principle and just the word you gave to Darius. Because it doesn't give record of how much information they knew about what was about to happen.
You have to use scriptures that say once you vow, defer not to pay it.
Kinda.
You have to reinforce yourself with those type of verses.
That's tough, though.
I gave somebody my word, so I'm not going to retract my word.
And we're going to take this big L as a nation possible.
Yeah.
But this is why we have such a great advantage, John. We have all the history of mistakes. So that we don't make those mistakes.
Right.
But let's continue, man.
Line 320. So when he had, with a good deal of pains during the siege, taken Tyre, and had settled its affairs, he came to the city of Gaza, and besieged both the city and him that was governor of the garrison, whose name was Damascus.
Damascus obviously was the governor of the Philistine land, because Gaza was in at the time Philistia. So he worked his way down after he took out Tyre and went straight south off the coastline, took out the Philistine capital, or one of the Philistine capitals, Gaza, and he next was going a straight eastward walk or march to Jerusalem. Let's continue. Paragraph 4.
But Sanballat thought he had now gotten a proper opportunity to make his attempt. So he renounced Darius.
So listen, the carnal person is going to turn coat to the winner. You're going to turn coat to the perceived winner, so you can go do the things you want to do.
It's not about principle.
And just hedge your bet on the winning side. We don't think like that. Don't forget, in many chapters, the nation, man, you guys don't do things like we do things. You guys are completely opposite to how we operate and do things. You guys are oddballs. You guys have different customs, different beliefs. You guys don't bow down to the nations. Y'all don't serve the nations. You guys hold customers off. So Sanballat, which was the leader of the Samaritan people, which was a hodgepodge of different nations, specifically the Persians, he turns coat from Darius' allegiance and flocks into Alexander, leading up. So read on.
And taking with him 7,000 of his own subjects, he came to Alexander. And finding him beginning the siege of Tyre, he said to him that he delivered up to him these men who came out of places under his dominion, and did gladly accept of him for their lords instead of Darius.
So what Sanballat, the governor of the northern region, is saying, listen, man, I'm going to sit back and serve him, so I'll get leverage when Alexander decimates Jerusalem. When Alexander wipes out Jerusalem, I'll have leverage because I would have served him first. So he sent 7,000 men and ambassadors to come to Alexander and push peace and servitude. Read on.
So when Alexander had received him kindly, Sanballat thereupon took courage and spake to him about his present affair. He told him that he had a son-in-law, Manasseh, who was brother to the high priest Jaddua, and that there were many others of his own nation.
Many other Israelites with him, Levite priests. Read on. That
were desirous to have a temple in the places subject to him, that it would be for the king's advantage to have the strength of the Jews divided into two parts, lest when the nation is of one mind and united upon any attempt for innovation, it proved troublesome to kings, as it had formerly proven to the king of Assyria.
So they understood, Sanballat understanding the region, he understood if you kept Israel separated, fighting one another, broken up in two parts, you have a better chance of conquering them versus when they're united and they're all seeing things the same way. So he's like, divide and conquer. Let me explain to the king Alexander, if you keep them separate and if you back my man Manasseh and all the rebels that locked into him, it will weaken the Jews in Jerusalem and you'll be able to sit back and break them quicker. And so if you scratch my back, you're really defeating the Jews because their spiritual base is with me. Half of their spiritual base is with me and half is down there. The guys will honor you. This is how he's playing it because Sanballat understood the politics of the region. We're the ones that on the outside are idiots that have no bend to us, that have no compromise to us.
But what do you mean by that? Because it sounds like you're going a different direction.
No. What I'm saying is, it's perceived from the outside that the Jews had no bend. It was, we're going to sit back here and follow Darius, and we're not bending anyway. There's no bend here. There's no adaptability with this new situation happening. Whereas Sanballat is adapting quickly. He's sitting back here saying, hey, if you can help us with this temple, it will weaken the Jews from the south, and you can conquer them easy. This is what's happening. Does that make sense?
He was already on a divide and conquer theme anyway.
Him and the other governor and the governor before that, they've been trying to divide and conquer that region from the beginning, even during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. They were trying to divide and conquer that region. Well, let's continue. Under the guise of let me help you.
Yep.
Let's help you with the building of the temple. Let's help you with the building of the wall. Well, let's continue.
Whereupon Alexander gave Sanballat leave so to do.
So he gave him authorization to build this temple. Not money, but authorization. Read on.
Who used the utmost diligence and built the temple, and made Manasseh the priest, and deemed it a great reward that his daughter's children should have that dignity. But when the 7th month of the siege of Tyre were over, and the 2 months of the siege of Gaza, Sanballat died.
So the Most High wiped out Sanballat off the map. Even though that temple got built, it's always you can't get around opposite factions amongst Israel and in the world. It's never going to be this situation where everybody's united at all times, everybody's kumbaya'd up, and there's one focus, one vision, one leadership. It's impossible.
The Most High created everything 2 and 2.
You can't get around the fact that it's going to be a different faction pushing different directions. So this temple was finished, and there was always going to be that option to go serve the Most High under a lesser caliber environment, or serve the Most High in Jerusalem and do things the right way. You can't get around that dynamic. And the temple being finished is proof of that. And we're going to read in paragraph 7 the confirmation of this. There's always an opportunity. If you don't like how things are being done in Jerusalem, just go up to damn Samaria. There are priests there.
That's the option.
They're more pliable.
They're lenient.
They're more lenient because they're going to sit back here and wink at all the people that are in Samaria that are serving the Most High in a half-assed way. Because when you read historically from 2 Kings 17, the leadership or the people in the northern kingdom in Samaria were a bunch of different nations that partially served the Most High and partially maintained their idolatry. So that was a thing up in the northern kingdom this entire time. So just having a temple up there didn't mean that the spiritual standard was high. It was a very lax standard, and we'll prove that later. Let's continue.
Now Alexander, when he had taken Gaza, made haste to go up to Jerusalem. And Jaddua the high priest, when he heard that, was in an agony.
He was in an agony. Jaddua was like, man, what the hell is going to happen, man? I thought I did the right thing, but I don't know. He's on the way. What do I do? He's on the way with armies and everything. Do I lock up the doors, bring all the supplies in, and hunker down and hope things work out? Or do I keep these gates open, be transparent, and have the faith the Most High is going to take care of us? Let's continue.
And under terror, as not knowing how he should meet the Macedonians, since the king was displeased at his foregoing disobedience. He therefore ordained that the people should make supplications and should join with him in offering sacrifices to the Most High.
That was the best thing he could do, was to sit back here and have him and the nation offer sacrifice to the Most High and ask that the Most High comes through and protects them.
Why is this choice?
Because when in doubt, you better go to the Most High. When you believe you know what you're doing, go to the Most High. This is what prayer and fasting is all about. There has to be some type of supplication you give to the Most High in hopes that the Most High gives you clarity to the decision that you're about to make.
So and you can say it one more time. You said,
because listen, we're not in a position where I can go and kill 17 goats out and give it to the priest, and that's going to work out. So what can I give the Most High to show him that I'm approaching him formally and asking him for answers? This is when prayer and fasting kick in. What else do I have but to deprive myself for a short period of time and ask the Most High honors that sacrifice I'm giving him so I can get understanding about the next decision that I have to make, whether it's for me or for my family or for the camp.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Proverbs chapter 8, verse 17. Because the Most High, but he's checking out. He's analyzing. He knows that these troubles come upon us. And he's analyzing and he's checking on what is our state of mind when we hear bad news and oppressive news, or we hear news that's fearful, causes us to fear. Read that right there.
Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 17. I love them that love me.
The Most High said, I love them that what?
That love me.
So how does the Most High know that you love him? Because the Most High just said, I love them that love me. Read.
And those that seek me early shall find me.
How does the Most High know you love him?
You seek him early.
With that, when you read that definition in the Strong's, that early also means first, because early represents first thing in the morning.
Yep.
So when I'm in a situation, the Most High knows if you love him, because what is your first recourse?
Yep.
Whose decision, whose opinion do you seek after primarily? Who do you consult with first? The Most High knows if you love him based upon when you reach a situation and you're at a point of not knowing what to do. He looks at your list of priorities and how you check all your boxes of how you go about to obtain what it is that you're needing help with. The Most High knows this by what do you do first? Do you pray first to him, or do you figure it out yourself? Do you fast first, or do you go say, you know what? I figured things are going to be this way. I'll figure it out as I go along. You know.
On that definition, early means dawn.
Yeah, and dawn means the first light. The first light.
Yes.
So the Most High knows. The Most High knows. That's what Adam means. Adam means the first light or the first sun. But the Most High knows that you love him based upon how you choose to seek him first in the middle of a situation where it's hard to decide and you're caught between two choices and you don't know what to do. That's how that declares whether you love the Most High or not. That's what the Most High is looking for. So he says, I love them that love me. Read on.
And those that seek me early shall find me.
And who does the Most High bless first? Those that put him first. Those that seek him first. Those that want to know his input, or how do I get the Most High involved in my scenario? I want the Most High to oversee my safety. I want the Most High to oversee my scenario, my situations. I want the Most High to intervene with me in my life. And that's what the Most High protects. So we have to learn that that's what the Most High is expecting from us, is that he wants to be first when you run into a problem, when you run into a situation. Yes, sir.
I have a question, sir. So we know that the scripture also says not to lean on your own understanding, and that in the multitude of counsel there's safety. So would it be safe to say then to make sure I communicate with others and also get their input before I make a decision, as opposed to just, well, since I fasted by myself, It's just on me, and whatever I come up with will be the right answer. Or is it good to communicate with others and get their input also? That's my question.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, because a lot of times we will do the self consultation, and we will say, I thought about it. I checked all my boxes. I've already analyzed. I've already went through the what ifs. If I make this move, then this is going to happen. Or if I go here, then this I know that response. I already know what that response is going to be. So I already thought 3 steps ahead or 4 steps ahead of what could go wrong. But that doesn't mean that's a foolproof scenario. A lot of times when we go to Psalms, give me Psalms chapters. Chapter 7.
Psalm 7.
7 and 15 real quick.
Psalms chapter 7 and verse 15.
Read that.
Psalm chapter 7 and verse 15. He made a pit and digged it.
So you know what? I could set up my own defense system, because this is all about depending on the Most High. Read verse 10.
Verse 10. My defense is of the Most High.
Who's my defense?
My defense is of the Most High.
So I could defend myself, and I could say, you know what? Well, I'm going to make me a trench, and I'm just going to hunker down in this trench. And so this is going to be my safety, or the Most High could be my safety. The Most High said, we're supposed to have the mind frame. The Most High is my defense. Read on.
Which saveth the upright in heart.
But he only saves the ones that got the right mind frame. Or I can have the wrong mind frame and say, well, I could provide myself with my own safety. Which now jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15. He made a pit.
So just like when you're at war, it's trench warfare. You dig a foxhole, or you dig a trench, and you get down in that trench, and then you cover your head and shoot back and throw grenades back. But you can either get into a posture where you always defend yourself, or you can posture your mind frame where I depend on the Most High to defend me. I let the Most High come through for me. People do different things. People say, well, I kind of been in this situation before. I know what this is going to be like. I already know what I got to do, X, Y, and Z. It's gonna be easy. Or you can say, man, I'm gonna wait for the Most High to come through at all times. Read on.
And digged it.
It said, but people that usually come up with their own defense mechanisms or their own answers, they dig a pit, but what happens?
And is fallen into the ditch which he made.
I end up falling behind what? My own decisions. I end up falling my own decisions got the best of me, and I thought that I was sparing myself, or I thought I was, wise in my decision making, and I end up falling into a damn pit that I created because the Most High wasn't my defense. Read on.
His mischief shall return upon his own head.
And where was his mischief? The Most High wasn't his what? He wasn't upright in heart. The Most High wasn't his defense. This is somebody that doesn't put the Most High first when they fall into a situation. These are people that are self-righteous, that try to figure out things themselves. And the plan always backfires. Mm-hmm. It always blows up on them, and they always fall in the pit that they dig that they were trying to defend themselves from. Read on.
And his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate.
His own pate and his own steps, his own dealings. So his own head. So this person can either depend on the Most High, have the right mentality, and let the Most High defend me, or I can try to make my own strategy, and I end up falling behind making my own strategy. It happens all the time. That helps answer the question.
And the crazy thing is, I'm not going to go there, but when Judas was sitting back here and really dealing with his issues with the Greeks, he said in one of the speeches that innocence is the strongest army. Yeah. Innocence and being blameless with the Most High is your best defense anyway when your back's against the wall. Being in order with the Most High and going to Him first is your best protection.
Yep.
Nothing else. Everything else is a coin toss. But let's continue. You done with that,
Matthew Henry says that also. He also talks about your innocence should be your confidence. Yep. The fact that I'm not gonna make no preemptive moves on my own. I'm gonna be blameless.
Yep. Brother.
Yeah, that's it.
So let's continue in the Josephus.
What line are we on?
Which one?
326.
Okay.
And Jaddua the high priest, when he heard that, was in an agony and under terror, as not knowing how he should meet the Macedonians, since the king was displeased at his foregoing disobedience. He therefore ordained that the people should make supplications, and should join with him in offering sacrifice to the Most High, whom he besought to protect that nation, and to deliver them from the perils that were coming upon them. Whereupon the Most High warned him in a dream, which came upon him after he had offered sacrifice.
Stop. That's the point. After you make supplications to the Most High, and you put him first, and you humbly beseech the Most High, then you get the answers you need. It might not be in the form of a dream. It might not be how these ancient men saw it back in those days. But the Most High will give you the clarity through abstinence and humility. And making sure your priorities is for the best interest of the nation. That's how you get your clarity. Then you figure out what's the best strategy. The Most High will reveal it to you. But you have to be in the right spirit to receive it in the first place.
You still got to wait on him.
And you got to wait till he gives it to you. Listen, he said, when did he give it to him? In a dream, right? Okay. Man, you had to go to sleep. You got to go to sleep and get ready for tomorrow. You know how this is going to work out. Yeah, that means that might come to you at 3 o'clock in the morning. And he going to be there at 8 in the morning. So you ain't got no time. You got to go to sleep and say, man, I did what I could. I'm going to go to sleep and see what happens. Whatever the Lord wants to do, he's going to do. It was in the middle of his dream that the answer came. That's on the Most High's time. Because you know what they let you know? The Most High is always there for you. But it didn't say he ain't going to make you sweat. You're going to have to sweat and have faith. That means Jaddua had to sit back and do everything he could and then go to sleep.
That's why the elders say, let me sleep on it.
But he actually had the faith and the calmness in himself to go to sleep. How many people will be up all night?
When you know your enemy is coming to get you.
Them horses is coming. Yeah. Most people ain't getting no sleep. The sleep comes from I did everything I can.
This guy just took out the Persian king.
And he's on his way. To go to sleep in that situation, being in agony. He was in agony. How many people are in agony and your stress level is heightened and you still go to sleep? Most people ain't sleeping that night. You stressing out and you pacing. To go to sleep meant he did everything he could. I got to trust in Heavenly Father. And that's when he gave us the answer. Let's continue.
But not everybody put their trust in the Most High.
Hell no. That's the point. He did everything he could, then shut it down. Read on. He got REM sleep too. He got some good sleep.
Yeah. That drool sleep.
Exactly.
That wet
Not
pillow.
that interrupted stuff.
Yeah, that wet pillow sleep.
Exactly. Let's keep going.
Whereupon the Most High warned him in a dream, which came upon him after he had offered sacrifice, that he should take courage and adorn the city and open the gates, that the rest appear in white garments.
The rest of the people wore white. Open the city and decorate it. All the people were white. Read on.
But that he and the priest should meet the king in the habits proper to their order, without the dread of any ill consequences.
He says, don't come out here down, stressed out, fearful. Come out there with peace, put a smile on your face, and be happy to receive Alexander when he gets in. Read on.
which the providence of the Most High would prevent.
And listen, it's still about faith. The Most High will overshadow everything, because what the Most High wasn't going to tell him is, I already gave Alexander a vision of him coming to see this city. He already had the answer. He gave him the vision in Macedonia. Why didn't the Most High say, listen, man, I gave him the vision, man. He's going to come in and see
Because
how come he didn't tell him that?
Because he wouldn't have to have faith.
Exactly.
Hope that is seen is not hope.
Listen, it was already solved 3 years ago. It was already solved 3 years ago. But it's about us having to suffer and stress out and then choose to cleave to the Heavenly Father. And choose to trust Him and be at peace with what the Most High already has preordained to happen in your behalf. But let's continue.
Upon which, when he rose from his sleep, he greatly rejoiced, and declared all the warning he had received from the Most High.
He woke everybody up. I don't care what time that was. Everybody getting up. You're going to hear this information. Start fixing this sanctuary now. Fix the city. Clean it up. Let everybody know they're wearing white.
Open the gates.
Ain't no excuse. You can't wear black today. Everybody better wear white. I don't care if it's dirty. You better wash it now. Get it ready. Read on.
And declared to all the warning he had received of the Most High, according to which dream he acted entirely, and so waited for the coming of the king. And when he understood that he was not far from the city, he went out in procession with the priests and the multitude of the citizens. The procession was venerable.
So he says, when he understood that Alexander was close, he went out in procession with the priests and the multitude of citizens, and the procession was venerable. So everybody in the city came out to receive him. Okay? So venerable, let's get venerable real quick. Venerable means worthy of veneration or reverence, rendered sacred by religious associations. So they came out in a very spiritual, holy way. They didn't know how Alexander was. He was his proclivity was to be religious anyway. Now he embraced different type of idols and gods, but he was no doubt embracing of people's spiritual inclinations. So they didn't know that though. So they were dressed in these holy garments, white and in, I think it was purple, with a priest. Okay? And it was a great multitude. Well, let's continue.
And the manner of it different from that of our nations.
Of other
nations. It reached to a place called Sapha, which name, translated into Greek, signified a prospect. For you have thence a prospect both of Jerusalem and of the temple. And when the Phoenicians and the Chaldeans that followed him thought they should have liberty to plunder the city.
And what happened is, he says, the Phoenicians and the Chaldeans, they thought that they were going to ride with Alexander. Alexander was going to wipe out Jerusalem, and they can get the little scraps and the spoils of war when Jerusalem gets plundered. So all these other nations that were secretly, and not even secretly, they always had problems with Jerusalem. They rode right behind Greece and, man, we're going to sit back here and break these dudes like we always do because they're a rebellious nation. Continue.
And torment the high priest to death, which the king's displeasure fairly promised them.
They said, listen, the other surrounding nations wanted to torture the high priest. It was there that much of a disdain for the high priest of the Most High, especially when they couldn't be bought. When they couldn't be bought, they had a greater hatred for him. Because this man stood on his principles. But let's continue.
The very reverse of it happened. For Alexander, when he saw the multitude at a distance in white garments, while the priest stood clothed with fine linen.
Because they were out in front of the city. So as he's marching down, he can see all these people in white and the priests in purple from a distance. Okay, read on.
And the high priest in purple and scarlet clothing, with his mitre on his head, having the golden plate on which the name of the Most High was engraved, he approached by himself and adored that name, and first saluted the high priest. The Jews also did all together.
That's powerful, bro. He sat back here, got off his horse, told everybody to fade back, and then sat back here and saluted the high priest, the same one he was threatening to kill. Why is this so important? The Most High in an instant can make a poor man rich. He can sit back here and change the outlook of your enemies out, just like this. When a man's ways please the Most High, even his enemies be at peace with him. He can change your condition very quickly, just because of your obedience. Yes,
I think if you're going to look this out, the thing that's amazing to me is the integrity of Jadu, but then all the city of Jerusalem had to face their fear and face looking at this multitude that was coming against them. And like, we're going to stand out here just in
whites,
white and purple.
Yeah.
This your answer for this?
Yeah.
This troop coming against us? But it wasn't just the technical wearing the white and the purple as much as it was in being unified. That's what the safety was.
Yep.
That's what the Most High was going to protect. We're all unified in this. The Most High got us.
Yep. And the power is all the Most High ever wanted from our leaders is to have the integrity and courage for the regular people to feed off of. Because too many times the leadership was poor and it fed the people to sit back and be selfish and cover themselves also. A lot of times, if the leaders just had integrity, the people would lock in, whether it was King Hezekiah. When King Hezekiah had integrity and made a decision to open the doors back in the temple, then all of a sudden, people want to serve the Most High again. When Josiah sat back here and pushed everybody come to serve the Most High, before Deuteronomy 28 comes and hits the entire people, guess what? When the leaders did it, everybody followed suit. But the problem is when the leaders weren't strong, the people weren't going to have the courage to be in order.
Smite the shepherd and the sheep will scatter.
And that's why the Most High kept seeing that, hey, these are a bunch of sheep. And they're gonna go where the leadership goes. If the leaders are strong, they will sit back here and have the fortitude to at least try and fight. But if the leadership ain't strong, they are not going to fight. They're going to run. They're going to be individuals. They're going to do what they want to do. That is the sad reality about our people. Most I kept trying to instill the leadership with the strength. And a lot of times, the leaders just let the people down. There's no doubt the fact that the people locked in and they didn't argue what you're doing. They sat back here and stayed in order, saluted this man. That's powerful. But my God, it was so hard to get a string of leaders to stay on point, to keep the people motivated to live right. It was so hard to keep that going. You'd have one good king, 3 bad kings, 1 good high priest, 2 sellout high priests, 1 good high priest after that. It was a constant flux of strong leadership with a lot of weak leadership that came right behind it. The lesson is about the people staying in order and the leadership giving the people something to trust in
and not sell out.
And they got to not to sell out and to give the people something to have hope in.
And getting your confirmation from the Most High, because it's the problem. This same counsel about just meet the people and be in the spirit of innocency or just be wearing white, we remember a similar situation like that in the Maccabees when they were killing on the Shabbat. Remember we went to war on the Sabbath and they said we're not going to fight for our lives. We're just going to stand here and we will die in our innocency. And that counsel didn't work. That was still a decision made without spiritual confirmation. They did the same execution, but on one execution, which is this right here, Most High told them to do it. When we did the Maccabee era, Most High didn't tell that priest, that leader, hey, don't fight.
Cut.
You remember that when they
Cut.
said we would quickly be eradicated from the earth?
Yep.
It was the same execution, but the Most High wasn't with that execution.
Cut. All facts. So what we're here is there's oh, listen. I hate just reading predominantly Josephus, but there's a lot of meat here, and I'm only going to go maybe a few more pages in the reading just to get a foundation of how the Greeks treated us. But because you don't have a lot in the Bible that deals with the Greek times. You have the Josephus, you have the Maccabees, and a little bit here and there. But it's important that we get these lessons because we can use this even in this time right now.
But also, even for those that are in school that may be in a Greek-dominated type of curriculum, you're not going to read the interaction with Alexander the Greek with biblical priests that he interacted with. You're gonna read the Iliad, the Odyssey. You're going to read Homer. You're going to read the theatrical works of the Greeks. You're going to read the wars of the Greeks. But you're not going to
how civilization started with the Greeks.
Oh yeah, Greek civilization and music and poetry and literature. You're going to get art. You're going to get that all day long. But you're not going to see how there was a direct effect from the initial institution of the Greek Empire directly affected the Jews.
Yep.
And how we interacted and the role that the Greeks played with the Bible.
And then when the Greeks started building their culture, how they made a decision to build their Greek culture based off Hebrew foundations. Listen, we're going to read next week when Ptolemy Philadelphus sits back here and starts to build his quote-unquote famous library in Egypt. And that the building of the famous library in Egypt was getting a lot of learning the Bible and getting instruction on even how to interpret the Bible because they didn't get it. How that was a major foundation in the Greek culture. And then they would take some Egyptian philosophy and some Babylonian philosophy because they had no philosophy themselves. And if we got time, we'll go into that today. But you get your hand up? You get your hand up.
I was going to say, that's interesting just to even hear this because in high school we did a lot of studies on like Alexander the Great, and they were saying it's like factual history back then. But they wouldn't tie it into the scriptures or anything. So hearing this is actually really interesting.
Alexander's coming in here and giving reverence to the person he was threatening to kill. He had deep respect for the Hebrew priests. He said he was caught up into the name. He said that name shook him on his breastplate. The name of the Lord is what caught his attention first. It was the colors, it was the white and the purple, and the name of the Most High drew him in. Because contrary to what we want to realize, the Most High put the spirit in Alexander to win. He was with him the whole time. When you sit back and see those battles, everybody says he was a military genius. Bro, he was half the fights. He was just went straight ahead. How he won. It wasn't. Listen, when you sit back and read how he beat Darius III in Issus, in battle Issus, bro, he just went. He was lucky because the idiot Darius chose to fight in this weird piece of land where the water around him cut off his army. So he couldn't use the size of his army to surround Alexander. Well, Alexander chose his narrow path, and then he, like a sucker, he went in there. All they do is fade back, so now we're going to fight over here. Why you got to fight? And I got to layer my guys backwards, and I can't use the width of my army to surround you. Why choose that choke point? It was dumb. And then Alexander just went straight forward. And his guys collapsed, and that was it. And then, like I said before in last week's class, when they fought a second time, 3 years later or so, the Most High intervened and gave the people a blood moon the night before the fight. So Darius's mirror all spooked out. Oh man, it's a blood moon. That means we're going to lose. That's a bad omen. So they was all spooked out that last fight. And they started losing a little bit, and they started running. That was the Most High playing on these people's heads. Alexander wasn't this super great tactician. It was just the will of the Father that the Persians fall and the Greeks win. But anyway, let's continue.
331?
Yes, fun.
Line 331. For Alexander, when he saw the multitude at a distance in white garments, while the priest stood clothed with fine linen, and the high priest in purple and scarlet clothing, with his meat tree and his head
On his head, yeah. Mm-hmm. On his head, yeah.
Sorry.
With his meat tree on his head.
With his meat tree on his head, having the golden plate on which the name of the Most High was engraved, he approached by himself and adored the name.
He adored that name that the priest had on, which is the name of the Most High. That drew him in. Read on.
And first saluted the high priest. The Jews also did all together with one voice salute Alexander, and encompass him about. Whereupon the king of Syria and the rest were surprised at what Alexander had done, and supposed him disordered in his mind.
Well, this dude's crazy. He came out there to kill him. Now he's hanging out with the black guys now? What's going on? He's hanging out getting black guys high fives and daps out. He's sitting back here giving dap to the priest and all this. What's going on here, right? Let's keep going, right?
However, Parmenio alone went up to him and asked him how it came to pass that when all others of the Jews to whom he had...
No. Yeah. When all others adored him.
When all others adored him, he should adore the high priest of the Jews.
I guess his right-hand man or his advisor, like, how is it that when you went to every other city, they're kissing your ass, so to speak? When you're going to Israel, you're sitting back here and kissing up to the high priest. What's going on here? Why are you sitting back here and messing with them versus them coming to you and serving you? Read on.
This is backwards, quote unquote.
Yes. Read on.
To whom he replied, I did not adore him, but that the Most High, who had honored him with the high priesthood.
Because remember, he said, what drew Alexander in? It was the name of the Most High on that breastplate. I know that name.
He's seen it.
I know that name, and that name has talked to me, or has approached me in some sort.
That was a deja vu moment.
So he's like, man, listen, I'm praising the man, the Most High. That name put over him. I'm going to praise the priest because the power above him chose him to be the priest. That's why I'm giving him honor and obeisance. Read on.
For I saw this very person in a dream, in this very habit, when I was at Dios in Macedonia.
When I was in Macedonia, fighting for respect and fighting to unify the entire Greek army after my father died, I saw this vision. And I saw that name. So this name has significance to him because that vision was probably as he was starting his campaigns going eastward. So he said, man, listen, this was from the Lord, and I know it is. This is why I'm going to give these people respect and reprieve, which goes back to the point. The Most High is working on our behalf as long as we're doing the right thing behind closed doors and we don't even know it.
True.
And that's the faith. These are the stories you have to remind yourself when you can't see how things are going to be going down the pipe.
But it was 3 years before it even happened.
It was 3 years before you got to this point.
A pattern of good works.
A pattern of good works is your greatest army. When you do things the right way, you have to trust that however it's going to go, it's not going to go how you see it, but he's working it for you if you're in the right spirit. And if you've had a habit of doing things the right way, there's nothing to stress about. That's the answer. But how nobody would have known this. Nobody would have known that the Most High gave him a vision 3 years ago. That's impossible to figure out.
And you would think, man, this guy forgot this.
How many dreams you have and you forget?
Yeah.
How important and impactful this was for you to not forget the name on the breastplate. And I saw the vision. Now, how many visions you remember that vivid? You ever wake up and the vision is clear, or your dream was cool for a minute or two, and you start forgetting it, and you don't got the vision no more. Oh man, that was a hell of a dream I had. And you want to go back to sleep and get the dream to keep it going. It's over, man.
Oh, the money,
that dream is done.
The money dreams. You had all that money when you woke up. You're like, where is it at? I had it on me.
It ain't there no more.
Yeah.
And then you forget the whole dream. It's back to normal. This dream's stuck. But let's keep going.
who, when I was considering with myself how I might obtain the dominion of Asia, exhorted me to make no delay.
So he said when he was sitting back here and thinking about how am I going to take over that entire region, the Most High was talking to him. When he was trying to figure out how to take out Turkey, modern day Turkey, how to sit back here, where should I go after I take out these couple cities? How should I work this? He's thinking about this while he's in Greece. And the Most High is like, don't make it delay. Hurry, just keep going. Just keep going. Be that what? That leopard. Be that leopard. He's telling him to go fast and take this thing out and go fight here or go here. Most High was guiding him the entire time. Read that part again.
When I was considering with myself how I might obtain the dominion of Asia, exhorted me to make no delay, but boldly to pass over the sea thither.
He said, boldly cross over hell's pot. And just get over there. Don't think about it. Just get there. Get to Turkey. Read on.
For that he would conduct my army and would give me the dominion over the Persians.
The Most High told him in Greece, in Macedonia, that he was going to beat Alexander. He was going to beat Darius. This is why he was so bold. I'm going to see if I can go right at this dude. I already got confirmation a year ago. I'm going to beat you. Read on.
Whence it is that having seen no other in that habit, and now seeing this person in it.
I've never seen any of the nations that I came across look like this. Where are these outfits? Where is white? Where is purple and scarlet? I haven't seen it until now. This is how I know I was supposed to be here. Alexander made all his moves based on the visions the Most High was giving him, leading him up to this point. Most High led him. Wasn't this guy's talent? He's just so talented. This white man's just so talented. He's not Liam Neeson out. He has all the answers out in every movie out. He always has the answers out. He wasn't that guy.
Have a particular set of skills.
Yeah, he has a particular skill set out. He just beats everybody out. He's just that cool out. Most High like, no, I'm with him and I want him to win. And I want him to break the Persian Empire quickly. But it's no deeper than that.
But you hear in history how Alexander always sought oracles.
Yes.
But they never tell you that he had confirmation from the Most High.
Exactly. They don't give the Most High his honor.
They never tell you that in history.
They hype him up like he's the greatest individual ever, but the Most High was working with him.
Or like the beginning of 300 when they climbing the mountain to go see the oracles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At the beginning of the
those
movie.
Weirdos out. Yeah.
But they always give praise, worship, and honor as if that was the only answer that Alexander sought was the oracles.
Yep.
Whether it was in Athens or was in the one oracle that was famous in Egypt in the desert that didn't have an address. They said you just have to ride in the desert for days, and if you stumble upon this little hut, you made it.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. And he's in Egypt, like, I found it.
Yeah.
I found it. But that's not it. He said, listen, he saw the name of the Lord on the breastplate. So the person that was talking to him, he knew his name.
You never get that in history, man. Not in school.
No movie.
Yeah.
Nope.
None of that, bro.
You're not getting it. He knew the name of the power that was guiding and instructing him.
But
The whole world knew that power. Even though those other countries had those idols, they knew who the Lord's name was. They knew that too.
But we were going in the last class about Most High wants to make his name great in the earth again.
God. But the nations knew the name of the Lord. They knew that, and they knew their other idols too. So Alexander knew this was the Lord telling me to go do this. Be swift, cross over Hell's Pond, get to Asia, get to Syria. He just didn't know what people he was trying to advocate for in that vision until now. Let's continue.
And remembering that vision and the exhortation which had in my dream, I believe that I bring this army under the divine conduct, and shall therewith conquer Darius.
And this was the final confirmation that it was over. He said, I got his girl, I got his mama, I got his kids. Now this is the confirmation of my dream. It's over. This guy is done. He's a dead man. Frank is finished. You know what I mean? That's what he's saying that. Read on.
And destroy the power of the Persians, and that all things will succeed according to what in my own mind.
Yep.
And when he had said this to Parmenio, and had given the high priest his right hand, the priest ran along by him, and he came into the city. And when he went up into the temple, he offered sacrifice to the Most High.
So he brought him to the temple, because the Most High gave him instruction to let him do that. Why? Because he wanted to show, the Most High wanted to show Alexander who his power was, huh? So he allowed the high priest to offer sacrifice to the Most High. He allowed that to happen. Read on.
According to the high priest's direction.
So obviously it was the high priest that was doing it. Jaddua was doing it, but it was on behalf of who? Alexander and his army. So Alexander wasn't sitting back here killing the animal and burning it on the altar. But Jaddua's direction, he sat back and killed the animal on behalf of the Greeks. And this was the start of the Greeks sacrificing for who? I mean, the Jews sacrificing on the altar for the Greeks. When we were in order, all the nations were having a sacrifice for them. That happened all the time. The Persians, when we were living right, we were sacrificing on behalf of the Persian Empire. When we were on point, we were sacrificing animals on behalf of the Greek Empire. When we were right, during the time of Augustus Caesar, we were sacrificing for the Roman Empire.
And they funded it.
So did the Greeks fund it. So did the Persians fund it. The only time they didn't fund it was when the Levites were out of order. And the people were out of order. So this was a constant and continual habit of us having to sacrifice the animals and be those spiritual representatives to back the kingdom that's in power.
That's if we played our role.
If we played our role and accepted the role of a servant and paid that money up too. Because you still had to pay your debt to function and keep their kingdom afloat, their armies afloat. Read on.
And magnificently treated both the high priest and the priests.
Mm-hmm.
And when the book of Daniel was showed him.
Now the book of Daniel was showed to him. Now the book was shown because they had that understanding in the confirmation that he was that he-goat. And the ram was about to get wiped out by the he-goat in Daniel chapter 8. Okay? Read on. And he was referred to as the leopard in Daniel 7 and Daniel's 2. He was the waist or the waist and the thighs of brass. Okay? Read on.
And when the book of Daniel was showed him, wherein Daniel declared the one of the Greeks should destroy the empire of the Persians, he supposed that himself was the person intended.
He's telling you, that's Daniel chapter 8. When the Greeks were to destroy the empire of the Persians, that's Daniel chapter 8. Okay? Read on.
And as he was then glad, he dismissed the multitude to him. He dismissed the multitude for the present. But the next day he called them to him and bade them ask what favors they pleased of him. Whereupon the high priest desired that they might enjoy the laws of their forefathers, and might pay no tribute on the 7th year.
Oh, you know what's crazy? All they're doing is asking Alexander to let them follow the laws in peace, so they can stay in order. It says, "Let us not pay tribute on the 7th year," because that's the year of Jubilee, not Jubilee, but the year that we give rest. Give us the 7th year off. We'll pay you your tribute every other year, and allow us to sacrifice and follow the laws properly, and you have our backing from here on out. This was the confirmation now to stop helping out Darius and now rock with Alexander.
Without being dishonorable.
Without being dishonorable, because it was confirmation that the Most High is with him now.
He got the juice.
He got the juice, and now we can go in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he got the juice now,
he
man.
got juice now.
Exactly. Yeah. But the crazy thing is, once they realized that Alexander, the Spirit was with him, and he had a recognition and an appreciation of the Most High, they knew the Spirit was with him. Same thing with King Cyrus. Remember, King Cyrus was prophesied about in Isaiah 45. And then the teachers and prophets brought that to Cyrus' attention, and that's what motivated Cyrus to help fund the temple getting reestablished and bringing the Jews back from Persia to Israel. So let's continue. So Alexander, after a day, he relaxed. He came up and said, "Hey man, what do y'all want?" He said, "Let us just follow the laws to a T, and we'll serve you gladly." Read on.
He granted all they desired, and when they entreated him that he would permit the Jews in Babylon and Media to enjoy their own laws also,
he said, "When I sit back here and whip up on Darius, I will let the Jews that were still in Babylon and Persia follow the laws too." Because we know there was a bunch of Israelites still in those other cities. Mm-hmm. Whatever country I take over, I'll let the Jew follow the law. And not give them that pressure.
Whether we were in Shusha or Babylon.
Shusha or Babylon. Okay, read on.
He willingly promised to do hereafter what they desired. And when he said to the multitude that if any of them would enlist themselves in his army on this condition, that they should continue under the law of their forefathers and live according to them, he was willing to take them with him. Many were ready to accompany him on his way.
On his wars. So he said this, and that he was able to get some more warriors to go fight his battles. So listen, everything worked. He got confirmation he was going to win. The visions came through. He got more warriors. All he had to do was let the Jews sit back here, follow the Most High. Everything's cool. We're at peace. Everything's going to be okay. Okay? Read on.
So when Alexander had thus settled matters at Jerusalem, he led his army into the neighboring cities.
The next cities he went down, the major one was Egypt. But he went around the local areas and got that support, and that wasn't no big thing. But the next big one was Egypt, and they let him in and they embraced him too. And when they embraced him in Egypt, the next step was to go and fight Darius III again. And that's when he defeated him. Okay? But let's continue.
And when all the inhabitants to whom he came...
Matter of fact, let's do this. Before we continue, let me see. Before we continue in paragraph 6, let's hold off on that. Let's go to Daniel chapter 8. Let's get this confirmation about Alexander and the Greek Empire. Daniel's 8, verse 1 through 7.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 1.
Give me one second, I got to get there. Let's do that.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was in Shushan.
Read it again. I'm so sorry. I was looking at something. I got distracted. Read it from the top again. So sorry.
Top 1 or 2?
Verse 1 from the top.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. Mm-hmm. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai.
Okay.
Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
So the horns were somewhat the Persian and Mede Empire. One horn represents power. One horn was higher than the other. The Persian Empire had more power and influence than the Median Empire.
A joint kingdom.
It was a joint kingdom, but the Persians had more power and influence. Okay? because they dominated the region. Let's continue.
And the higher came up last. I saw.
So
the
what
ram-
it means is the higher came up last, meaning the Medes had the stronger power and influence initially, but the Persians' power grew stronger and more effective and dominant than the Medes' power.
And then this is where you hear a Medo-Persian Empire. Some people
Yes.
like to put the Medes first when they say Medo-Persia or Persia-Mede.
A lot of times when we were reading back during the time of the Babylonian Empire, when Babylon and Assyria were fighting for power, a lot of times when Babylon and Assyria were fighting, the Medes were in the midst of that, giving the Assyrians and the Babylonians fits during that time also, because the Medes were neighbors to the Babylonians. Okay, so when Babylon fell, the Medes had a great influence in that happening. So they were the stronger nation initially, but the Persians came in and got more dominant, and they took things over. If I'm not mistaken, King Cyrus married the Median king's daughter, and that was how the empires kind of came together and connected. But the Persians are being stronger than the Medes. Let's continue.
Verse 4. I saw the ram pushing westward.
So now this ram, which is the Persian and Mede Empire, was pushing westward. Okay, it came from as far as India going west. Read on.
And northward and southward.
And that's literally where the scope of the Persian and Mede Empire went. It was west, south towards Egypt. Don't forget Cambyses II. His campaign after Cyrus died, they went down and took Egypt. Then they went as far west or northwest as India and parts of Greece. Read on.
So that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand.
So for 200 some odd years, they were dominant in the region. Okay, read on.
But he did according to his will and became great.
God.
And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
He says the he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth. So he got up and gained power and started working his way towards the entire known world.
But you're talking about Alexander, right?
I'm going to prove it. Hold this verse and go to verse 21. Jump to verse 21.
Verse 21. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
The rough goat is the king of Grecia. The rough goat is Alexander. So when you're talking about the goat's talking about the Greeks. Okay? So the Greeks came from the west and was working their way towards the entire known world, which was the east. So what is being explained is this collision course of this ram from the east going to war against this goat from the west. Okay? Two warring factions, two warring empires. Read on.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat...
When it said it touched not the ground, it was the swiftness of their eastern endeavors. They didn't stop in one place. After they wiped out one country, they went to the next one. They went to the next country. And the next country. They took out Turkey in 2 fights. Then they sat back here and took their regions down. Took Zidon out. Took Syria out. Took Philistia out. Took Samaria out. Then they came down and it was at peace with Jerusalem. And they worked their way down to obviously Edom and Moab and all those spots. Worked their way down from Egypt. Once Egypt was taken, their next fight and venture was somewhere in the middle. I think it was near Babylon, but it was where they fought all of Darius III's people, and they beat them. Okay, but let's continue.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
The goat had a notable horn between his eyes, a notable power, and that was Alexander. He had that notable power between his eyes. Read on.
And he came to the ram that had 2 horns.
So listen, that Alexander, who was that horn, they had that notable horn in that goat, which the Greeks, they went ahead and fought against that ram, that nation that was in power for a long period of time. Read on.
which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
That ram sat back here and fought against that goat in the fury of his power. Read on.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with the choler against it, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns.
So the Greek Empire, which is the goat, smote the ram, which is the Persian Median Empire, and broke those two empires, broke those two powers. Read on.
And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
And listen, after that last battle, I think it was the battle of I don't have a no. It was the battle of Gaugamela, Guagemela in 331 BC. That was when they officially wiped out the Persian Median Empire. The Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC. So when Alexander sat back here and defeated Darius III, that was the end of the Persian Empire. Read on.
But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Continue.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
And this is why I don't want to go continue in this verse, because it goes into the splitting up, the death of Alexander and the splitting up into his general's hands. We'll go into that next week. But from verse 1 to 7 just explains the process of Alexander and the Greeks from the west attacking and defeating the Persian Empire coming from the east. And this had to have been what was explained to Alexander
When he was
in
showing
the
the
book of Daniel when he was showing them the scriptures. Now they might have went to Daniel chapter 7 also, and verse 6, but there's not a lot there. Let's go there real quick. Daniel 7 and 6.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of his 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
And then verse 7 goes to the fourth beast. There's not a lot there, but in verse 6 it talks about that leopard. And we know that Alexander wore a leopard skin skull cap in his wars. A leopard skin skull cap in his wars. And also the leopard represents the swiftness of his victories in conquering from the western Greece all the way to the Persian Empire in the Far East. So there was the swiftness of his victories also. And it says, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of the fowl. The 4 wings are the 4 jurisdictions and land areas that he had ended up getting control over, and how his 4 generals were given the power to have the jurisdiction over all that land. Exactly.
But you know, in Cyrus actually saw his name in Isaiah.
Exactly.
He saw he saw Cyrus. He
said, "My servant Cyrus."
My servant Cyrus. He saw his name in the prophecies.
Yeah. That made him get what got to happen for me to do this for the Lord. I'm in these paper. I'm in this parchment.
I'm in this history.
Yep.
But even though Alexander the Greek didn't see his name, he didn't see Alexander written in the book of Daniel, you could still tell that he knew it was him by way of the prophecies.
The prophecies and the fact that Most High was communicating with him.
Yeah.
And telling him to hurry up and go to this place, go to that place. You can just put 2 and 2 together.
It was confirmation still.
It was confirmation. Even Daniel's 2 gives a little bit of a breakdown, but Daniel's 8 gives way more detail than Daniel's 7 and 2 regarding the Greek Empire. From there, let's go back to the Josephus and get paragraph 6 if we can.
Okay. Josephus, book 11, chapter 8, paragraph 6. So when Alexander had thus settled matters at Jerusalem, he led his army into the neighboring cities. And when all the inhabitants to whom he came received him with great kindness, the Samaritans, who had then Shechem for their metropolis, a city situated at Mount garrison.
So what's happening is this. Shechem was their main city for the Samaritans. Okay? So now we're going to go deal back with what these Samaritans did and how they were operating with the Greeks. So Alexander had settled the matters of Jerusalem. He led his army into neighboring cities, and when they had inhabited, to whom he came, received him with great kindness the Samaritans, who had for them Shechem for their metropolis, and Mount Gerizim was right next to Shechem. So Mount Gerizim was where they made that temple that the Israelite priest Manasseh was given power to run over and be the head of the priests of the Shechem area.
Is that alternative
Yes.
place of worship?
It was an alternative place of worship for the Jew and anybody else who wanted to operate like the Jew.
But still have dealings with the Samaritans.
Exactly. It was like an off-brand Bible school in a temple. But let's keep going. Keep in mind the word Shechem, though. It was in Shechem. That's important. Read on.
And inhabited by apostates of the Jewish nation.
He says they were inhabited by apostates of the Jewish nation. Let's get apostates real quick. Apostate, check this out. They're false and treacherous. It says false and treacherous. One who has forsaken the church, sect, or profession to which he before adhered. So he's saying Shechem was the city where sellout Israelites left and inhabited. Shechem was the place where off-brand Jews that didn't lock into how the Jews did in Jerusalem, that's where they inhabited. That was where the Jews that were running from correction and order went to.
Traitorous is what it says.
Traitorous. Right? The meaning traitors.
Yeah.
And false rebels to the standard that was set up in Jerusalem. That was what that place ended up symbolizing. If you want to sell out and run from the work, go to Shechem. You can hang out in Shechem and go to that bogus temple in Mount Gerizim.
What goes on in Shechem stays in Shechem.
It stays in Shechem. And you ain't going to sit back here and make me feel bad in Jerusalem. I'm going to go out there and be accepted in Gerizim.
It's crazy, bro. It says apostasy means defection in Latin.
Yeah, they're Jew defectors.
And the word defect means a conscious abandonment or allegiance of duty.
They abandoned being responsible for their conduct. We're going to read it in paragraph 7. The people who didn't want to take the check and didn't want to get corrected in Jerusalem for their sins, they just went to Shechem and they were accepted. Because Shechem and the temple near Shechem was the city of compromise. It was the temple of compromise. Desertion. They compromised everything up there.
To desert.
Because when you sit back and read about how people of Samaria rode, they picked and chose when they wanted to serve the Most High. Yep. They picked and chose the laws they want to follow, and then if they want to follow idolatry, that was okay too.
Yeah, that's why. I'm going to get there.
Yeah, that's where we're going to go there. That's what the setup's for.
Let me shut up, man.
And then we foreshadowing right now.
Yeah. Let me shut up.
Another thing.
Yeah. But let's continue.
Seeing that Alexander had so greatly honored the Jews, determined to profess themselves Jews.
Now they want to sit back at these Samaritans or the Samaritans that, don't forget. Remember Sanballat sat back here and went to them with 7,000 men when he was in Tyre and said, listen, man, this is how you split the Jew up. You split the Jew up. We got priests over here to fund this temple or back it, and we'll sit back here and split the city and the Levite priests in two, and you can control and dominate the south. But now that everything was cool with Alexander and the Jews, now they want to sit there and say, hey, we're Jews too.
Man, they flip-flop.
Yeah, they flip-flop. And this is what Josephus said about the Samaritans, how they were flip-floppers, and they sat back here. Let me go here real quick and bring out this point. Read that part again, just that part.
It says, seeing
where it says, yes.
Seeing that Alexander had so greatly honored the Jews, determined to profess themselves Jews.
Now, hold that and go to Josephus, book 9, paragraph 14. I'm sorry, Book 9, chapter 14, paragraph 3. So it's Josephus 9, 14, and 3.
Josephus,
I needed to give me 1 second. 9.
You have a page number?
Page 265.
Yeah, that's what it is.
that would be line 288.
Paragraph 3. Yes, sir.
Josephus, book 9, chapter 14, paragraph 3, line 288. But now the Kuthians, who removed into Samaria, for that is the name they have been called by to this time.
Just to sit back here and get context. This is when Hosea got conquered over by the Assyrians, and the northern kingdom got sent to Assyria.
2 Kings 17.
17. And what the king of Assyria did, Shalmaneser, he sent Kuthians and other nations to inhabit the northern kingdom territory. So when you read about these Samaritans and during the Greek time, they weren't Israelites. They were transplants from the Assyrian kingdom many years ago. And one of the major nations that were living there were Kuthians. So let's continue.
But now the Kuthians, who removed into Samaria, for that is the name they have been called by to this time, because they were brought out of the country called Kutha, which is a country of Persia.
That's important to know too. That mayor Sanballat, their people were connected to the Persians. That's why they were the governors of the entire area, because their connection was back to Persia way back when. So read on. These Samaritans were Persians. Read on.
And there is a river of the same name, which were in the number 5.
What's that? Oh, wait. There was a river of the same name in it, and each of them according to their nations. Maybe my book is different.
No, my bad. Let me start again. Is a country of Persia, and there is a river of the same name in it, each of them according to their nations, which were in the number 5, brought their own gods into Samaria.
So there were 5 nations. One was Kuthia. 5 nations came and lived in Samaria, the northern kingdom lands. Okay? This is why we weren't having any dealings with people of the north. Because it was a bunch of nations and heathens living up north. Read on.
And by worshiping them, as was the custom of their own country.
So the nations were worshiping idols in the land of Samaria, the Holy Land. Read on.
They provoked Almighty power to be angry and displeased at them.
So these nations that were transplants were breaking the law. The Most High was pissed off and did something about it. Read on.
For a plague seized upon them, by which they were destroyed.
That plague were those lions that were coming in there and killing them and eating them and destroying them.
Because they defiled the land.
Because they defiled the land. Read on.
And when they found no cure for their miseries, they learned by the oracle that they ought to worship Almighty power.
You better sit back and serve the Lord.
What?
And these lion attacks are cut down.
Yeah.
Read on.
As the method for their deliverance. So they sent ambassadors to the king of Assyria and desired him to send them some of the priests of the Israelites who he had taken captive.
And don't forget, they were asking, the Kuthites and these 5 nations who were idol worshippers asked the king of Assyria to bring Israelite priests from Assyria into captivity to teach the people the laws in the northern kingdom. There's only one problem. Who were the priests? They were fake priests. Remember Jeroboam way back when? Didn't allow the Levites to be the priests of the northern kingdom anymore. The Levites of the northern kingdom went down to the south. So remember they hired base men to be priests
that
Bethel?
weren't even Levites.
They were base men of any tribe that could be priests of Bethel and Dan. And that was the 2 places where they had the idols, where they had the
The calves.
The calves. And they sat back here and set up 2 temples. But those priests weren't Levites. And they were idolatrous priests also. So when they're telling these priests to come down and teach them how to follow the laws, that was still tainted too. Their version of Torah was tainted when they were being instructed how not to sit back and be idol worshippers.
They were deviated.
So the entire area was polluted and had false truths and false doctrine, even in the rebuilding of these 5 nations that were in the northern kingdom of Israel. Everybody clear so far? Okay. Let's continue.
And when he thereupon sent them, and the people were by them taught the laws and the holy worship of the Most High, they worshipped him in a respectful manner.
But it wasn't complete, because even when you read 2 Kings, they still kept their idols while serving the Most High in this bastardized way. Read on.
And the plague ceased immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, they continued to make use of the very same customs to this very time.
So what they do, they still have used and followed the laws to a certain degree in that region. Read on.
And are called in the Hebrew tongue Kuthians, but in the Greek Samaritans.
But they were called in the Greek. They were called Samaritans.
That makes sense. The good.
Yeah, that's a good Samaritan. Yeah. But why do they say the good Samaritan? Because a lot of those Samaritans were bad, and there was beef with the Samaritans up north. What was Christ saying? There is a good Samaritan, even though there was a lot of beef there.
Yeah.
There are good Samaritans out there that actually give a damn and actually will show the Jew kindness. So this is the situation. So now the Greeks called the Kuthians Samaritans, and that name stuck. Read on.
And when they see the Jew in prosperity, they pretend that they are changed.
Oh, man.
And allied to them.
So this is what's happening now in the reading. When the Jews are in prosperity, they switch and pull their Jew card out.
Yeah.
Like what's happening with Alexander. Yeah. They saw that Alexander was cool with the Jew. Now we're the Jew. Now these Persians are Jews now because it's cool to be the Jew.
Yeah, but they just met. They just met him in Tyre.
Then they sat back and said, "We're not the Jew." They switched it up. Yes, sir.
How are they pulling that card if they know they're from Persia? How are they being allowed to pull that?
They've been allowed because they still follow the customs to a degree.
Even though by birth they're not Jews, just because they follow the law, they're being allowed to pull that card
yes.
if they are Jews.
All they're doing is that they're aligning themselves based on who is the victor. Yes, but listen, the Jews don't respect them, but the nations wink at it.
Especially the Persian Media, who was in power, because they're Persians also.
But the Jews don't go to Alexander and set them straight and be like, nah, they're not really Jews.
Well, you're going to read about that. You're going to read about that a little later. The Jews do sit back here and try to defend themselves and say, listen, we'll go into it. I'm just trying to set the context proper now, because now Alexander is on the Jew side. So once the people of Samaria realize that, now they're going to say, oh, we're Jews too. We follow the law too. We have a temple up there, just like their temple.
But they're not saying that it's an off-brand temple.
They're not saying it's U.S. Polo Association.
Yeah.
It ain't Polo. It's U.S. Polo Association. Why is his name so long, guy? Why is the indentation like there's sketches? It's not filled in like the regular polo shirt. Because it's different. It's an off-brand scenario.
Look like you're playing cricket too.
It does. Cricket. And that's what the Northern Kingdom was. It was U.S. Polo Association. You get it from pennies. It ain't from the fancy stores.
They weren't Levite priests.
No, they weren't. So read on in the Josephus.
And when they see the Jews in prosperity, they pretend that they are changed and allied to them, and call them kinsmen, as though they were derived from Joseph.
And you're going to read this when we go into John chapter 4. Because that woman, a Samaritan, pulled the same card. She was disrespectful to Christ until Christ started checking there and proving that the Spirit was with him. And then all of a sudden she switched sides and was like, yeah, our father Abraham.
Yeah.
So
at first she said,
we don't have any dealings with the Jews.
We don't have any dealings with the Jews.
And then she switched up and said, our father Abraham, this is our
serve
exactly
these mountains.
And that's the play. This is how they roll. Well, let's continue.
and had by that means an original alliance with them.
Mm-hmm.
But when they see them falling into a low condition,
So when Nebuchadnezzar came over here and wiped out the southern kingdom, do you think the people of Samaria were backing being a Jew?
Nope.
No, they were not. I'm not a Jew. I am of transplant of Kuthia from the Persian Empire.
That's like going into a Korean hair store and they playing gospel all day. And that's the truth. You go in a Korean hair store, they got gospel, literal gospel music playing all day long.
That's crazy.
Is that like Kamala?
Yeah, she's black now. Yeah.
Yeah, now she's black.
She's black now.
It's a Kuthia.
She's a Kuthia now.
She's a Kuthia. That's hilarious. She's a Kuthia now. That's funny as hell.
That's good.
Kamuthia Harris.
Yeah, Kamuthia. But let's keep going.
they say there are no way related to them, and that the Jews have no right to expect any kindness or marks of kindred from them.
You see how they switch it? When the stock of being a Jew is down, we're not kindred. We're not aligned with them. We're not family. We're of different stock. Read on.
But they declare that they are sojourners.
We're sojourners and we're not affiliated with these people. Read on.
That come from other countries. But of these we shall have a more seasonable opportunity to discourse hereafter.
What he's saying is there's a lot of history between us and the Samaritans, and we'll talk about them later. And one of those times is here. Now the Jews are up. They want to align with the Jews. So let's get back to book 11, chapter 8, paragraph 6.
Book 11, chapter 8, paragraph 6. From the top.
Why not?
Line 340. So when Alexander had thus settled matters at Jerusalem, he led his army into the neighboring cities. And when all the inhabitants to whom he came received him with great kindness, the Samaritans, who had then Shechem for their metropolis, a city situate at Mount Gerizim, and inhabited by apostates of the Jewish nation.
Those apostates are those people who were anti-establishment, anti-order, and wanted to still establish themselves as connected to the Heavenly Father. Read on.
Seeing that Alexander had so greatly honored the Jews, determined to profess themselves Jews. For such is the disposition of the Samaritans.
Read on.
As we have already elsewhere declared.
Because we just read where he declared this. Read on.
That when the Jews were in adversity, they deny that they are of kin to them. And then they confess the truth. But when they perceive that some good fortune had befalled them, they immediately pretend to have communication with them, saying that they belong to them, saying that they belong to them, and derive their genealogy from the posterity of Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh.
And that's a lie, because they don't have the lineage of Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh. They don't have connection to 9.5 tribes. They were transplants and they were sojourners, like they said earlier. But when it benefits them, they pull the Ephraim card.
Oh, we play the same game too, though. They're going to play the I love the Most High game when they get a benefit out of it. There's no benefit, hey, I'm going to live my life.
Well, that's what the apostate Jews are. They're in the same spirit. The apostate Jews pull Jew when it's convenient to them, but when it's not, they live like Gentiles. That's how they connect. Those Israelites are acting like the same people that are non-Israelites. They pull the Jew card when it's convenient to them.
And then these Samaritans are like DJ Vlad.
Yeah.
You know, they claim to be a part of hip-hop.
Then they say
then they ask you incriminating questions, and they get you caught up. Then you disappear for a little while.
I thought you was my friend.
You sit down for a little bit.
Yeah. I had to interview DJ Vlad, then I'm doing 6 years.
Yeah, I shot him. Oh, you did? Where'd you shoot him at? Well, I shot him right there in front of him at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I knew I saw me, man.
Then you got braces on you.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens a lot, too. You said that.
But is just showing you that Israel is just like this,
You're right.
and they fit right into the people that were around them.
That's why there was such a connection.
Huh?
It wasn't like there were two different garments.
And this is why Israel in the south had such a problem with the culture and the people up there in Samaria, and that the fact that the real Jews lived up there, was despicable in their eyes.
But when you have priests that won't compromise, you don't allow these partial flip-flopping Samaritans an opportunity to get in. You don't let them in.
So they got to get in somehow.
You squeeze them out when you have a close-knit society, and you don't let that spirit in.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But when you start to compromise, then you got to understand that these other nations, they want in. They get an opportunity to come in.
Done, brother. So let's continue.
Line 342. Accordingly, they made their address to the king with splendor, and showed great alacrity in meeting him at a little distance from Jerusalem.
So right after he leaves Jerusalem, they catch him out. Hey, sir, master, my liege. Right after he leaves Jerusalem, they catch him out. Read on.
And when Alexander had commanded them, the Shechemites approached to him, taking with them the troops that Sanballat had sent him. And they desired that he would come to their city.
Can you come to Shechem? And let us sit back here and roll out a red carpet to you and show you love like they did in Jerusalem. Read on.
And do honor to their temple also, to whom he promised. And when he returned, he would come to them.
So he's like, can you sit back and do honor to our temple? Like you did honor to do in the temple over there? It's just, they got to get that same pride and respect that the Jews in the South got.
Validation.
They want that validation. Kinda. But Israel's always duplicating that. They always duplicating and imitating. They always want to do it. Because they got to feel that they're important too. Read on.
And when they petitioned that he would... he would remit the tribute of the 7th year to them.
No, he's like, can you sit back here and give us a 7th year off? Like you get, because we follow the law too. We love the law. We love the law. We love the law. They don't care about the law like that. They left Jerusalem because they want to hide from the law and not be accountable for the law. Now I'm gonna sit back here and put a law card. Give us the 7th year off. Just when it benefits them. So keep going.
Because they did not now sow thereon. He asked who they were that they made such a petition.
Like, who are y'all? Are y'all like y'all do with them? Are y'all like with them? Yeah, we're with them. We're with them. We follow the law. Read on.
And when they said that they were Hebrews.
Yeah, there you go. We're Hebrews too. Me too.
There you go.
We're just like them. We're just up north. Yep. We didn't sit back and set the temple up north so that the people don't have a long trip. Law didn't say that. They're just making this stuff up. Yeah. Read on.
But had the name of Sidonians living in Shechem. He asked them again whether they were Jews.
Yeah, but you guys got a bunch of nations. Are you sure you guys are Jews? Like the people down in the south? You guys are acting a little different.
A little different.
Are you guys the same? Because it's like Alexander, like you guys don't roll like the same. Are y'all sure y'all the same? Read on.
And when they said they were not Jews, it was to the Jews, said he, that I granted that privilege.
I gave that privilege to the Jew, not to everybody, man. Why you want what the privilege the Jew got at? They want the hookup. Read on.
However, when I return and am thoroughly informed by you of this matter, I will do what I shall think proper.
He says, when you give me all the information and I got time to process this, like I got a kingdom to win. I'm not trying to deal with this petty crap. When I get back, I'll see what it do. But I got to take out Darius. But I got time to mess with this semantics crap.
Yeah.
Read on.
We're not the Jew.
Kinda.
And in this manner he took leave of the Shechemites, but ordered that the troops of Sanballat should follow him into Egypt.
He said, I'll think about what you're asking, but I want those 7,000 men with me. Because when this man looked, he didn't have a lot of men with him. He didn't have a large, super large army. He had to keep collecting from the groups. He's conquering.
And keep that momentum going.
Yes. So give me 7,000 from y'all. I got some real Jews with me. We're going to see what happens. Okay? Let's continue.
Because there he designed to give them lands, which he did a little after in Tobias, when he ordered them to guard that country.
So this is all politics, and what can I do to sit back here and get a deal from Alexander when everything settles out? Okay? But let's continue.
Now when Alexander was dead, the government was parted among his successors.
Now listen, this jumps to after he takes out
Different time.
This jumps to after he wipes out what's his name? King Darius III, and they take over all of Persian and Medes region. This has already happened. Alexander dies, and once Alexander dies, he didn't have an heir, or his heir was young. They ended up killing his heir. But they split up his kingdom with his top 4 generals, and they split the empire with the top 4 generals. Okay? Read on.
The government was parted among his successors, but the temple upon Mount Gerizim remained.
But I don't want to go into all the breaking up of the 4 captains and the land distribution. We're going to that next week. But he says, when Alexander died, the government was parted amongst his successors, but the temple of Mount Gerizim remained. That temple, that bogus temple of separatist Israelites remained, and it was in the city of Shechem. Read on.
And if anyone were accused by those of Jerusalem of having eaten things common.
So he says, when Israel was caught eating pork, when Israel was caught breaking the law, read on.
Or of having broken the Sabbath, or of any other crime of the like nature, he fled away to the Shechemites.
So who wants to sit back here and run a temple that's known for people who break the laws and they run to you because they don't want to sit back here and face judgment? The Shechemite city, Shechem in the Mount Gerizim, was the place that the Jew went to when they didn't want to lock in.
It's rebellion.
It was a rebellion city. I want to run from judgment, so I'm going to go to Shechem. I mess up in Jerusalem, I'm going to run off and run from my battles. That was the temple that Manasseh was known for running. Who wants that? Who wants to be known for that? Be that guy?
It was an off-brand temple.
It was an off-brand temple that wasn't about judgment. It was about leniency and deals and bargains. Hookups. And this is what happened with Jews that were discontent and didn't want to lock in and do things the right way. And let's continue.
And said that he was accused unjustly. About this time.
Isn't that how Israel rolls out? When they do things the wrong way and they get checked for it, before they take the check, I didn't get a fair shake. It was a sham judgment. Brothers didn't understand what I was going through. So I'm just going to sit back and run from judgment and just leave the city. Take all of my belongings and just go to a new city.
This is commonplace in the scriptures.
It's a commonplace. The city of Shechem was the common place for Jews who ran from their battles and didn't want to deal with judgment.
Ran from being exposed.
And run from being exposed from their negative. Shechem was that place. But let's continue.
About this time, it was that Judua, the high priest, died, and Onias, his son, took the high priesthood.
That was almost like the land of Nod in the story of Cain and Abel. After Cain killed Abel, he went to the land of Nod.
But this was with a basic frame of the law.
Yeah.
It was almost like come as you are. That's really how it was. Come as you are type of city.
Yeah.
If you wink at this, we're going to wink at the little weaknesses you got. But the reason I wanted to finish up with this chapter, before we go into Onias and everything like that, let's go real quick to St. John chapter 4, verse 1. St. John 4 and 1.
St. John chapter 4 and verse 1.
Let me get there, sir. No, you're good. St. John chapter 4, verse 1. Because now we're going to deal with present day when Christ was dealing with this Samaritan woman. We probably won't go through the whole thing because we pretty much got the point today. But let's get St. John 4, verse 1.
St. John chapter 4 and verse 1. When therefore the Most High knew how the Pharisees had heard that Yahushua made and baptized more disciples than John, though Yahushua himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria.
But you know, Christ had to go through the city and the land of the Samaritans. Read on.
Then cometh he to a city of Samaria.
Hold on. He says now he has to go to a city. He has to go through this city of Samaria, right? Called what?
Which is called Sychar.
Sychar. So now Christ has to go through this city in Samaria called Sychar. Read on.
Which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph.
The funny thing is Sychar was in the past, the name was Shechem. So Christ now is in the city of those rebellious Israelites that had that refuge from, and they ran from their battles in Jerusalem. So now Christ, the names change over time with different leaders and different kingdoms over these regions. They're not always the same. So Sychar is Shechem. Shechem was that place where there was a bunch of Jews that were rebellious towards the Heavenly Father and Samaritans mixed in the bunch. Okay? Now, hold tight. Hold this and go to Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Ecclesiasticus 50. In the Apocrypha 50, verse 26.
Ecclesiastes chapter 50 and verse 26. They that sit upon the mountain of Samaria, and they that dwell among the Philistines, and that foolish people that dwell in Shechem.
Who are those foolish people that dwell in Shechem? Those foolish people that dwell in Shechem are Israelites and the Samaritans that flip-flop when it fits them. Okay? It was both.
Rebellious Israelites.
It was the rebellious Israelites and those Samaritans that weren't Jews and weren't living like Jews, but only claimed Jew and it benefited them. Why am I saying this? Let's, from all that, now we're on to the Sychar, Shechem, they're the same place. Let's go back to St. John chapter 4, and let's jump to verse 39.
St. John chapter 4 and verse 39. And many of the Samaritans of the city believed on him.
So what's happening is word got around about this interaction he had with the Samaritan woman. We can go into that today, but it was getting kind of late, and I didn't want to go into all that. But word got around about Christ's interaction with the Samaritan woman. There were Samaritan people that were believing on Christ. Now, there's a lot of Jews in Samaria too, especially in Sychar, which is Shechem. Read on.
It said, and many of the Samaritans of the city believed on him for the saying of the woman, which testified, he told me all that I did.
So this woman is saying, listen, Christ sat back here and told my entire history without me telling him. The Spirit's with this guy. She's telling people in the town about the power of Christ, and people are listening. Read on.
So when the Samaritans were come unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with them. And he abode there 2 days.
Now we understand why Christ spent all this time with a bunch of nations. Because you would have thought Christ was just talking to a bunch of Samaritan Kuthians.
Right.
But who was Christ really dealing with?
Or Gentiles.
That's why I said Kuthians.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that Christ was sitting with a bunch of Gentiles for 2 days, hanging out with a bunch of weirdo Persians. But who was Christ really spending those 2 days with? Those rebellious Jews. Yes, those Israelites that had rebelled and made that logic in Shechem. But they're still Jews. They're still Israelites that Christ had to go teach and deal with them all.
And the Israelites, we still have to repent.
Yes.
But we were over here.
So he had to sit back here and teach those Jews that had been quitters and negative dudes that had ran from their battle in Jerusalem and were in Sychar or Shechem. Does that make sense? So Christ was there for 2 days teaching Israelites, not a bunch of Samaritans. We're good on that? I'm getting kind of the weird looks.
Okay.
Nice.
Just wanted to make sure. What you got down, yeah?
No. It says in the commentary. This is a commentary point.
What you got in the commentary? It's just commentary.
I've been seeing this for a while. It just kind of got my mind. 50 and 626 says right here. This is Harper Con Study Bible. It says the detested nations are those that border Judea in the south, which is Seir, in the west Philistines, and the north Shechem.
Yeah.
But they are referred to by our archaic designations. Those who lived in Seir were the Edomites, known as Ben Sir's time as Edomians. Shechem was the old center of the northern kingdom, a euphemism for Samaria and Ben Sir's time.
Yeah, it was Samaria, but once we're reading, we understand that a lot of Israelites over the years, from the time, really, that anybody that didn't like following the law ran to Shechem for refuge. So Christ had to come back here and teach them also.
But the crazy part is it was a lot of negative influences in general in that area.
Yes, and this is why Nehemiah wanted no parts in dealing with Sanballat, the governor of Samaria, because he knew that their dealings were always sideways.
Yeah.
And they would only use us to their benefit, and they would throw us away when it didn't benefit them. So that beef was always there. But then Christ also came back down in the Gospels and talked about the Good Samaritan. Because there was a lot of times, as heated of a feud that we had with them, there was still a person that would sit back here and look after an Israelite before a Levite priest would. That was also the point.
Yeah.
That they would have more compassion to us, a natural-born enemy, than Israel that lives right next to you. That was the understanding that Christ was given there. But in regards to St. John chapter 4, Christ was teaching those rebellious Israelites that were living in Shechem and going to those priests and those temples in Mount Gerizim during Christ's time. That's what John chapter 4 was about. Are there any questions? Yes, sir?
A little bit off topic. Do you have any research or archaeology on what happened to the temple in Gerizim?
Nah, not enough to. No, I don't know what happened to it.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So what's the last picture in Ecclesiastes?
50 and 26. But with that, we're going to shut it down. Next week, we're going to go into after Alexander breaks up his army after he dies. There's different regions that his generals have. Ptolemy had Egypt. Seleucus had Asia and Asia Minor. Hellespont was given to Lysimachus, and Cassander had. I mix that up sometimes. Cassander, I think, had Greece.
Thrace and Bithynia.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Greece and Macedonia. Lysimachus had Hellespont, Thrace, and Bithynia, that whole region up there. But then after that breakdown, we started to deal with how the Greeks and the Jews cohabited and coexisted with each other at that time. So we'll go into that, and I think it's important that we go a little bit longer into Josephus, just in the basic reading, because it lets us know that the Greeks learned a lot and set a lot of their standards based upon us teaching them. So I want to make sure we go into that long enough. Then we'll start jumping into the Apocrypha with the Maccabee situation.
You know what's ironic here? It says Mount Gerizim in John Van Bible Dictionary. It says of military importance. It says also Moses commanded that when the Israelites came into the Promised Land, the blessing for keeping the law should be spoken from Mount Gerizim. So it was a place that we should have known to do better.
Yeah.
But we chose to do opposite.
Listen, and also I remember back in Judges' time, Shechem was always the place that had the mixture of the Canaanites and the Jews there. It was never a pure Jewish place. Because Shechem was the city that Abimelech was born from. Abimelech was the son of Gideon, the one that killed all of Gideon's sons. So that was a place that was always filled with different nations, a place that the Jew never completely conquered out of. But anyway, that was in Judges. So let's get our prayers up. Amajim Waponya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh.
Please listen to us right now.
Please listen to us right now.
Send Michael
Send Michael
and the righteous angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the people of Yasharallah. Also send unto us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, and much love, spiritual power, and forgive all of our sins. Yahweh shall come quickly. For indeed is our hope. Always and forever. Amen.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us light to see. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the ram's horn to call the people. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Psalms 92. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
O Yahweh. To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
And thy faithfulness every night.
And thy faithfulness every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh. Hast made me glad through thy work.
Hast made me glad through thy work.
I will triumph. In the works of thy hand.
In the works of thy hand.
O Yahweh. How great are thy works.
How great are thy works.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand.
Neither doth the fool understand.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh. Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
O Yahweh. For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
Shall perish. All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity.
Shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
Mine eye also shall see.
My desire. On my enemies.
On mine enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire. Of the wicked. That rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
And there is no righteousness in him.
By Shem Yahushua. Psalms 133. Shayar, Hamawa, Laduwa, Hana, Ma, Tawa, Wama, Na'ayam, Shabbat, Akim, Gam, Yechad, Kashaman, Hatawa, Ayo, Harash, Yerad, Ayo, Hazakwan, Aharad, Shayarad, Ayo, Paya, Madawafiwa, Katal, Haramwan, Shayarad, Ayo, Haroria, Tazayawan, Kaya, Sham, Tazawa, Yahweh, Habaraka, Kayayim, Hawalam, Bashem Yahushua.
Psalms 133 in English. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Amen.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Rakanawa. Washwali. Wabiat. Support. 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 Barakatay Ho,
Barakatay Yahweh.
Barakatay Yahushai,
Barakatay Yahushai.
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 all knowledge, all power, all wisdom, all understanding, all mercy, all love, all loving kindness, all power is from Yahweh. All power is from Yahweh. All power is from Yahweh.
It's from Yahweh.
Ba'Shem Yahushai,
the water,
Amyad,
Aman.
Check it up. Said power early, man. You got it?
Sure.
Like, shake it off, man. I want to hear some strength.
Saluting out in the heavenly order, Yahweh, when I was shot, Ukwa Shirala, Ben Israel, Amadu, Prep,
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Barakatah.
Saluting out, daughters of Zion, Ben Israel, Amadu, Prep,
Yahweh Shema'alatam Ba'Shem Yahushai. Yes, Matap. Dismiss. Voila. Israel, the water to the end. See y'all on Monday, all right? Shalom.